Thank you. Please take your seat. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome the founder, President, Wellbeing Foundation Africa, Her Excellency Mrs. Toyin Saraki, LLB, BL, LLM, FAPH. Madam, you're welcome. I'd like to welcome the representative of the wife of Taraba State Government, Helen Douglas. You're welcome. I'd like to welcome as well the Commissioner for Health, I believe, in Kebbi State, Alhaji Umar Usman Gambaza. You're welcome. Also like to welcome Honorable Commissioner Imo State, Mrs. Ngozi Njoku. You're welcome. We have as well Dr. John Ahukawa, Honorable Commissioner, Abia State. You're welcome. Dr. Sani Suleiman, Director of Public Health, Katsina State, Ministry of Health. You're welcome. Alhaji Aminu J. Hassan, Executive Secretary of Taraba State Primary Health Care Board. You're welcome. I'd like to welcome the Deputy Director of Primary Health. Again, you're indeed all special guests. By the way, as I was rushing to this program this morning, I realized the program was for 9 o'clock, and so I've always known Abuja doesn't have a lot of problem with traffic. For some reason, I took my time. Unfortunately, as I was coming, there was a bit of a hold-up, so I had to overspeed at some point. I know Nigerian police has improved now. When you misbehave, they park you well. So as I was overspeeding, a police officer stopped me and told me, "Please stop. Why are you running to us? I have a program, I'm already late." He said, "Can I see your particulars?" Now, in my rush out of the house, I forgot that one of my cars, which has the particulars, is not the car I'm driving this morning. So I opened the glove compartment of my car and I was looking for my particulars, which was obviously not there. And he got impatient and said, "Okay, your particulars, please." Out of fear, the first paper that got into my hands, I gave it to him. And it was my birth certificate. So he was looking at the paper for 3 minutes. He was looking at my birth certificate. I was now worried. After a while, he said, "Oga, since 1967, you never renew your paper, pack well." Okay. And I knew I had to explain to him that is my birth certificate. But eventually he allowed me to be here, and I'm glad I'm here. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Nigeria, with a population of more than 170 million people, has a fertility rate of 5.5 children per woman. According to the National Rapid 2013, with an annual growth rate of 3.2%, Nigeria may likely double its population by the end of 2025. Now imagine with me, by the end of 2025, if our population will double, that means we're looking at a figure of 340 million people in Nigeria. That's scary, isn't it? Family planning has been proven to reduce maternal mortality by 32%. Poor access to and underutilization of modern family planning methods contributes to high death rates among women and children across the country. Increasing access to quality modern family planning services is recognized as one of the primary pillars of reducing poverty and ensuring demographic dividends. The Nuri project, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, was a 5-year project designed to eliminate the supply and demand barriers to contraceptive use in order to increase the contraceptive prevalence rate, CPR. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today, Nuri 2 project, harping on the success of Nuri project, is launching the Challenge Initiative. That's why we're all here this morning, to give credence to this new project that will help in ensuring that our families are properly planned, and maybe this 340 million target of 2025 can be checked. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you once again to the Nigerian Hub launch of the Challenge Initiative. My name is Patrick Otoro. It's my honor and privilege to be your Director of Ceremonies this morning. You're welcome. And to give a more robust welcome address, I'd like to welcome the Deputy Director, Reproductive Health Division, Mr. Lawrence Ayamu, to please come forward for the welcome address. Please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Lawrence Ayamu, Deputy Director, Reproductive Health Division of NURI, I believe. Put your hands together for him, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Let me correct a little bit of what has been said. I am a Deputy Director in the Reproductive Health Division of the Federal Ministry of Health and not NURI. The wife of the President, ably represented, the Honorable Minister of Health, ably represented by the Director of Family Health Department, wives of state governors, honorable commissioners here present, directors and other key functionaries of government agencies, heads of development partners and implementing partners, the press, all other protocols observed. As we already know, I'm here on behalf of the Director of Family Health Department, Dr. Adebi MNI, to present a welcome address to our August participants to this occasion. Let me tell us that since she is taking up a higher responsibility, she was unavoidably unable to take up this role. Hence, I am here to represent her. But should there be any need for clarifications, she will be able to do so. So I read the Director's welcome remarks. It is a great delight welcoming you all to this occasion of the launch of the Challenge Initiative. I am glad that it is coming at this time when it has become very necessary to further strengthen the mechanisms and processes around the implementation of family planning and reproductive health programs across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, towards addressing identified challenges inhibiting provision of services to clients in the country. You will all agree with me that as much effort has been devoted to the supply side of service provision, particularly in ensuring regular availability of life-saving family planning and reproductive health commodities, less attention has been paid to the demand side. This therefore underscores the relevance of the Challenge Initiative that is designed to work with governments at all levels towards addressing gaps identified in the implementation of previous interventions in family planning and reproductive program, particularly from the NURI project, which focused on demand-driven interventions in 6 states of 6 cities of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Ibadan, Kaduna, Ilori, Benin, and Zaria. It is our firm belief that this intervention will facilitate scale-up and appropriate replication across the states. Undoubtedly, the incoming the Challenge Initiative will enhance promotion of sustainability, local ownership, and even national ownership to galvanize long-term investment in family planning, reproductive health programs across the country. With proper management of the Challenge Initiative, intervention activities and other ongoing efforts, we are likely to achieve a successful implementation of the National Family Planning Blueprint, which aims to meet the 36% contraceptive prevalence rate target of the federal government. I have at this juncture to thank all partners, especially the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for its financial support, and NURI for technical support towards implementation of family planning, reproductive health programs in the country. Let me seize the opportunity on this platform to once again assure you of the Federal Ministry of Health's commitment to collaborate with all partners in implementing various health programs with firm belief that health indices in the country will be improved significantly in the shortest possible time. I thank you for all your attention at this moment. God bless you.
A groundbreaking model built on proven success to expand reproductive health for the urban poor. To deliver this, it's my honor and privilege to welcome the Portfolio Director, NURI 2, the Challenge Initiative, Dr. Mojisola Odeko. Please welcome her to the microphone, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Good morning, the wife of our Senate President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Her Excellency, Barrister Mrs. Toyin Saraki, and the founder of the Wellbeing Foundation, the representative of the wife of the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, our dear sister, joining us as this family today, the wife of the Executive Governor of Bayelsa State. You're welcome. During this presentation this morning, on behalf of my dearest sister, Dr. Adebimpe Adebiyi, who is actually the pivot of catalyst of why we're here today, representing the Federal Minister of Health of Nigeria. You're welcome, Dr. Adebimpe Adebiyi. I must say that Professor Isaac Adewole's heart is here, but his body is in many places. So we have him here with us. This journey actually started with what he convened last year as a pre-event to the 4th National Family Planning Conference, which held in November 2016, where we also had the honor of the governor of Plateau State sitting in through that session. So we're excited that actually what we're doing today is already bought in. It's just for us to re-energize that energy as we begin to plan for 2017 and beyond, and to put this in our radar as a core pivot for development in Nigeria. So it's an honor for me to be here and a privilege to share with you the context of the Challenge Initiative. I won't be going into the depth of it because other presenters will let you know that. But just to let you know, it's a platform for scaling up the Urban Reproductive Health Initiative model. It's business unusual because in the past, we have proof of concept that's worked, and once we have shown it's worked, nothing gets done thereafter. So this is an opportunity for us to actually do our desires, what we had intended to do in the past, looking for opportunities to carry it on as sustainability. And we do know that family planning, next slide please. In Nigeria, the family planning, childbirth spacing is the heart of reproductive, maternal, newborn, and child health, and adolescent health. Now we've added nutrition, but everything is in the basket. So I'm just using this cycle to let you understand that what pulls all that together is family planning. And the Lancet series has given us that evidence. So we have the evidence. Now Nigeria is opportuned to have the cluster of a model that works. And so what else are we waiting for? So TCI is a platform to bring all those together. The heads, those with the money, We have an adage in Nori, Nigeria, that we know what to do. We don't have the money. You just partner with us, bring the money, and we'll help you do what you want to do and make a difference. That's the bottom line of why we're here today. So I'm so excited that it's already bought in, because that's what we want to do, to make a difference. So there's no point looking out anymore. We have homegrown model. So let's take it to scale. We've always wanted scale in Nigeria. Nobody wants pilot. So what are we looking for? What we are looking for, in my language in Yoruba, permit me to say, nǹkan tẹ́ ń wá lọ sí Sokoto, ó wà lẹ́sẹ̀ Sokoto. Thank you, Your Excellency, ma. It's like what you're looking for far away is right on your legs. You know, you have it already in your fiber, so use it. So I don't want to talk too much of a technical stuff, but just to let you know that this is pivot to everything. All right? Some people tell me I have too much passion. I have too much energy. I have no apologies for that. Because when we started Mero, you remember, when we started the Safe Motherhood movement, and we were pushing skill-backed attendance, Your Excellency, you remember, ma, I cast my mind back, and I said, if you don't put energy or passion into what you're doing, you can't achieve anything in Nigeria. Because if you tell me, use this medication or use this cosmetics, the first question that comes back to me is, have you used it before? Does it work? So if I say, yes, I've gone this route before, the next thing is, does it work? And I said it works, then the energy comes on, right? So the value, I'm pulling this out from the 2017 annual letter of Bill and Melinda Gates to remind us the value of investing in family planning. And one of that extract says, no country in the last 50 years has emerged from poverty without expanding access to contraceptives. Poverty alleviation is key driver to everything we're doing in Nigeria today. And you remember the federal government did roll out some poverty alleviation strategies. All right, that's good. It's good to go, but family planning will give you more leverage. All right, so I'm talking as an economics, and I know that the DG Planning Commission will join us today, so that we're actually talking to that community so that they begin to see the value, the economic value of investing in this route. Now, for family planning investment in Nigeria, we found that we've done so well. Now we have a blueprint, we have a roadmap, we have a desire, but there's still a lot of work to be done. We found that the landscape is changing from the stagnant one we had for so many years. But for us to achieve the blueprint that we've pulled together, we found that we need an investment of $603 million US. Okay, I won't translate that into Naira now because I don't know which exchange rate to use to be able to translate that. But thank God our CBN is reviewing such policies to make our Naira more stable. So where I'm going is that we need to fast-track repositioning the FP program even within our RMNCH agenda, which we have there already. I'm told to stand here that we were part of the contributions of that in 2007. And the African region adopted the Nigerian strategy. So we have it. So we want to mobilize more local resources to make this happen. Your Excellency, the wife of the Senate President of Nigeria, I'm happy you are a champion to this. And we are depending on you to mobilize this resource to be able to make it happen. I know we as Nigerians, when we put our heart to something, we do it. We don't look at those challenges around us. Those philanthropists, you know, there are some silent millionaires and billionaires in Nigeria. We want you to help us to get those people out. We don't even want their names. They can say anonymous donors. All right? Let's get them on board. They can adopt one of the states and say, I want to make a difference in this state. Or start with an LGA, where they come from. I don't know whether constituency project is still approved, because there's a lot of debate on that. This could be a constituency project. I don't know. I don't have the idea. So that's why we're here today to discuss. Where are they? What can we do to make that difference? We have a blueprint that Nigeria has said they want to deliver by 2018. And I'll put on my political cap now, because as in Nigeria, I come from a political family. There's no better political manifesto than this one for 2019. Because if we deliver for 2018, we deliver for our people, and we would have evidence. We now have ways of tracking evidence every 6 months, not waiting for 5 years. We can show that statistics by 2019 as my political manifesto agenda, whichever party I belong to. I belong to Party of Nigeria. I don't know if there's such party, but that's what. So that's what I'm talking about. We would have results to show. So this is the greatest ace to deliver. Whether I'm an economist, whether I'm a politician, whether I'm a technocrat, you know, I wear all the caps because I have legs everywhere. All right? So the most important thing is that this blueprint we have signed to as Nigerians. Let's look for a way to fast track that. I don't know if I'm taking too much time. They just gave me 10 minutes. So just to let you know that this is, the next slide shows that for Nigeria to attain the CPR that we have signed to in our blueprint, because that's our policy document, all right, which we all wrote by ourselves. Nobody wrote it for us. We sat down, we looked at where we are, and we said, this is where we want to go. We designed this vision, you know, to get there. So it just lets you know all the states of Nigeria where we are and what they will contribute to that. I mean, I won't go into this. There's a lot of technicalities. For us to achieve what we signed to by 2018, these are the levels of modern contraceptive use that is expected for the states to get into, all right? So for every state that is here, we'll make this available to you. You look at where you are right now, and you look at where you want to be, and then what would you do in your state to catalyze action to help you reach this, so that when we add it up together for Nigeria, where we want to be in 2018. So that resource is available, and TCI is the platform that will make that available to you. Some states have done their costed implementation plan. Kudos, because they use this to be able to do that strategy. But the next stage is to get that moving. All right, Nigeria has moved away from just policy formulation, putting things in the paper without action. So we want to move. Now, I'll just give you a snapshot of the model that TCI is projecting. It's the URI model in Nigeria that has worked. Many of you have been at different fora where we share in-depth of this. I just want to show you snapshots of what happened in the Nori Phase 1, where we worked in 6 cities. Just a snapshot at that this model can make a difference. It has made a difference before, so there's no question about it. Increase of about 11 percentage points across board. And in these cities, we work with the poorest of the poorest, okay? And Nigeria is actually tackling poverty alleviation. We want to work with the poorest of the poorest, and this shows the results that we had over the time. It also shows that there were increases in modern contraceptive use, the next slide, in these cities. And what did we do? Well, what we did is already the thematic areas of what we know. But what we did differently was providing synergy. And so next slide please, the 3 wheels, these are the 3 wheels of change. You know, where we have a change mantra now, all right? And to do a change, you have to do business unusual. Well, people say, well, we know this thematic advocacy, we've always known that. Yes, service delivery, we've always known that. Demand generation, we've always known, but they didn't work in synergy and in consonance the way the URI model brought them together. So that's what made the difference, all right? That's what, so that one wheel cannot go without the other. And okay, the engine of change is integrated, is entrenched, that you can't remove one fiber from the other. That's what made the difference, okay? Before, we've done vertical, all right? And saying, okay, we'll try and do integration, or we try and do partnership within these thematic areas, but it never really worked. So it has to be entrenched, woven together, you know, so that's what worked. So the next slide just shows us the results. The myths and misconceptions are still here with us, but there was change over time using these 3 models of change. And also there were shifts in attitudes. Can I have the next slide? There were shifts in attitudes of people who thought contraceptives were dangerous to their health or it would harm their womb. These myths are still with us, but with this wheel of change, there were significant shifts in attitudes over a period of time. So the next slide also shows us that there are critical stakeholders. We made sure we involved everyone, policymakers, religious and traditional leaders. For a long time, we've had Islamic perspective. We did last year put up a Christian perspective to RHFP. And for the first time, we had the Catholic community sit with us. So everyone in the Christian community was there, and they endorsed it. So whatever is your sensitivity was taken care of, and we all moved together. So we are so excited right now. Even at that meeting, they were asking us, please give us sermon notes, and we're going to do that. You know, we have initiated the steps already in Kano last week to begin to do that. So it's an exciting time for Nigeria to begin to put action to what we want to do. Now we are recruiting champions along the way. I don't know if you recognize yourself in this picture. Excellency, the wife of the Senate President, publicly speaking at the last FP conference in Abuja, you know. So as we recruit champions, we pin them because we don't want to miss those golden moments, you know. And so we have a gallery of champions that we are pulling up, and I hope today you will join the gallery of champions using the TCI to scale up as we go. Of course, quality and access to services is a key thing to us. So I'll just conclude. I'd have some other statistics to show you, but I think I'd like to end with this couple of slides. Can I have the Get It Together song? Now, involving the young community, because Nigeria does have a vibrant 80 million young people in Nigeria that we must bring to the radar. The slide on Tiwa Savage and Rude Boy. Anyway, thank God I have the IT people are a bit slow with me. So last year, we know that Nigerians love entertainment education, and the Nori Prime, which is Johns Hopkins Center for Communications program in the 80s, used this terrain to communicate message on family planning, if you remember, through Onyeka Onwenu and King Sunny Ade. Now, along the line, because we use evidence for programming, the young people told us that that song is only for the old people. Okay, the middle age and the old people. They need something that they can recognize and attach to. And so we need to connect. That's the language they gave us. You guys need to connect with us. So we said, so how do we connect with you? You know, Nigerian young people love celebrities. Everywhere, all the latest songs today, I learned them through my son. If I say what is the latest, so we did our research, and they gave us these 2 celebrities as their current, the ones they connect with. And so we got these 2 involved and said, we need an FP song that connects with our young generation. And so last year, we were proud to launch this during Valentine's Day, February 14. They even chose the day where they want it launched. And so this song is all over. And the next stage they want to do this song with is rap and do all sorts of things with it. But we think this is a good platform and opportunity for us to invest in the next generation, because that's really where Nigeria wants to make a difference. And the essence is to correct, bring out the facts, correct the myths and misconception. So this song is available. It's already had over 2 million hits on YouTube, and it's all over the place. The DJs are using it. That's the way the young people want to use it. So we are making it flexible for them to use it as they want, and it's their message. And the key message is people wey sabi, na them they use family planning. It means in English, people who are hip or who know what they want to do in future, they're the ones that plan themselves, you know. So they have different scenarios for that. So in summary, my last slide is investing in demand generation drives the uptake of family planning services and modern contraceptive use. Adopting and scaling up these proven interventions using this TCI platform is actually a quick win for Nigeria to obtain and attain the objectives of the blueprint that we have signed together. So thank you very much for listening to me and availing me this short time to run through the context and the platform for TCI. Thank you.
Some families, that's why we're having this. And you remember Dr. Deku said, this idea is to get people to buy into it. Somebody can fund it, make it your constituency project and just take care of the whole state. Just pay and do everything. We need money, all right? Now there's this family, they have 10 children. And the man doesn't believe in family planning. So one day the woman was reading a document. She got tired because the man kept disturbing her for the next child because they had 10 girls. He wants a boy. So they've been looking for a boy. And on that day, she was looking at this document and the man asked the wife, what are you reading? She said, I'm reading our marriage certificate. He said, why? I'm looking for the expiry date. I'm tired. I'd like to invite now Professor Adeshegun Fatusi, our guest speaker, who will be talking to us on making a business case for investing in family planning. Professor Adeshegun Fatusi. Please put your hands together for him as he makes his way here.
First, I'd like to start with our developmental quest as a nation, our dream, our aspiration, our desires. Secondly, I'd like to position that picture in the realm of what can family planning contribute to that agenda. And finally, what are the critical steps that we need to make in moving forward the family planning agenda? IT, am I good? All right. I'll try my best to just carry along. If we go back to the bigger picture about our country and governance challenge, one of the first questions in my mind is, as we go forward as a country, what are some of the dreams we have? If you go back to our constitution says to us in chapter 2, section 14b, that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. So the primary purpose of government is to ensure that the people's welfare is catered to. And at a point in our history, not too long ago, we had a dream that by 2020 we'll become one of the biggest 20 economies in the world. And I think that our political parties, in my mind, took those challenges in a very important way. I went to look at the manifesto of our parties, and I found very exciting things. Let me share two with you. In the manifesto of the APC, and I can assure you I carry no card of either APC or PDP or any of them. But as you do know, APC and PDP are the biggest parties in the country today. APC says, very simply, a decent life for every Nigerian. That's the agenda. To create 3 million new jobs a year, health care for all, guaranteed free education, urban renewal and housing, tackling poverty, keeping Nigeria safe, and creating a vibrant Nigeria in the area of sport and culture. And the question is not how well and how good today. The question is, what do we need to do, particularly from the perspective of family planning? PDP says on page 9 of its manifesto, titled Covenant with the People of Nigeria, it says, we shall remain strongly committed to sustainable development through sound education, basic health care, abundant food production, rapid industrial growth, good housing, full employment, improving infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Those are the dreams of our two biggest parties, and I think they align very well with our vision as our constitution puts it. But as we look at that picture, the core question is, what are the variables that we need to consider towards achieving those goals? And one of the key variables is the issue of our population. And it is not just a question of numbers. I think we need to consider various dimensions. One, our number. Two, our growth rate. Three, our structure. And finally, the quality of the lives of our people. Because sometimes we talk about population as if it's about number. It's not about number. It's ultimately about the people that constitute the number, the life they live, and what is occurring in their life. If you go by what our growth rate is, 3.8% now, and we move on the way we are moving on, without any change, what will happen is that for every couple, in 4 generations, you will have produced 216 offspring. And that means by 2040, we will have 359 million Nigerians. Somebody said that before, and the question is, what does that mean? In terms of health, in terms of investment, in terms of our aspiration to be the biggest, one of the biggest economies in 2020. And that's the core question I think we need to consider. By 2050, if you go the way we are going, we will be the 3rd biggest nation in terms of population. We will be, at that point in time, about 398 million minimum. As you do know, these visions are broad and good. But let's come home to some realities about where we are today. And I don't need to say it to you because we are all in it together. One clear picture is today we are in recession. So this government has a vision, a decent life for every Nigerian. And yet we are going through a time of economic vision. Today we are challenged by unemployment. And I often describe the Nigerian youth generation today as educated and qualified but jobless. And that picture will not change in the current realm we are if we continue to grow at the rate we are growing. We did a review last year in December for the Federal Ministry of Health, looking at what had happened in Nigeria over the last 10 years in the area of reproductive, maternal, newborn, child, and adolescent health. And the clear conclusion is this: we had made very little progress in 10 years between 2007 and all right. Give me a minute. Let me bring you to speed where I am. Okay. I think this is where I am. Okay. Talking about the review we did last year. Like I did say, population is not just about number, because sometimes people argue about number, particularly in a country where the allocation to the states and local government is by number. I used to work as UNFP advisor to Delta State about 1.5 decades ago. And I remember telling the local government chairman in Warri about the need to manage the population growth rate. And he said to me, if you manage our own, as I won't tell you the tribe, and the other tribe outgrows us, what happened? And those are legitimate questions in the mind of policymakers. But the answer to that question is not just about the number. If you have a state today, and you have the largest allocation in Nigeria, and yet your population grows large, for the same amount of money, you have far more people to cater for. So it is not about the number, it's about what quality of life can that population really afford. What kind of life, quality of life can you give the people? Yes, blow up the numbers, and your money is not blowing up, you're going to get yourself in the same kind of challenge that we are in today. So, as we take a look at where we are in terms of the quality of life, clearly what the data shows us is that we are not doing well at all. This is the data from the Human Development Index, and looking at African nations. Far much smaller countries, poorer countries, are doing far better than we are doing. The likes of Kenya, Angola, Swaziland, Ghana, Congo, I can go on and on. I'm not saying this from where I am. I hope you are seeing it. I hope it's clear. But if you look at this, we are down there. We are number 152. Namibia is 126 in the world, and the rest of that. And we have hardly made significant progress in the last 4 or 5 years. And that should be a concern for the policymakers. It's about the quality of life that our population is living. And that takes me to the next issue. As we take a look at all this, and this is from one of our very senior people, Professor Tolori, I like this picture. It says, it is hard to fly when something is weighing you down. The Nigerian population is a weight that will not allow us to fly as high as we can. There is no way we can soar with this big stone hanging around our neck. And that takes me to the second part of this lecture. In other words, why do we need to make more investment, particularly in a time when economic resources are diminishing and the priorities are as large as they are? Why should we as a country and as a people make greater investment in issue of family planning? And I want to just look at 2-3 things and close. Number one, let's look at the health impact. We know today that over the last 10 years, we had hardly made a dent in our fertility rate. We had remained between 6 and 5.5 over more than about 2-3 decades. We do know that despite the very many efforts, and thank God for the people like Nuri, UNFP, USAID, and we can go on, Brigade and rest. Except the last, from 2013 to now, that we have seen some significant progress. As the NDHS showed us, from 2003 to 2013, we really did not make any progress. And like I often say to people, we can justify it on many grounds. Oh, we are a big nation. Oh, we are a Muslim country. Oh, we are a Christian country. Oh, we are the reality is this. When we compare ourselves to other countries that are richer, countries that are poorer, when we compare ourselves to Muslim countries or Christian countries, our rate is still far too high. So there is no justifiable ground around our fertility rate and around our low family planning rate. And so we cannot justify it to ourselves that, hey, I have to be sure you, all right? Like I said, I can't see what you are seeing, but I hope we are on the same platform. So we do know that on every ground, we have a lot of grounds to cover in terms of managing our population to bring that fertility rate to a level that is manageable and to lift up our child spacing rate. We are one of the highest in the world in terms of fertility rate, and as you see our red color. But that's not what I want to focus on. Let's talk around the issue about why therefore invest from the health perspective. Like Dr. Deco had said to us, and I don't want to spend time on this, everything you think around reproductive health, family planning is the linchpin, is the center of everything. Either you talk about safe motherhood, the ability for mothers to be able to space their children so that they can have better life and they can have better chance of survival, or you talk about the child itself, because we know that when children are spaced so closely, their chance of survival becomes lower. Or when the mother dies because she had had too many, we know that the likelihood that the child will survive itself becomes rapidly diminished. We know that you cannot prevent HIV and the rest if you don't use family planning, if you don't use condom. We need condom to prevent that. We know that we cannot bring down our adolescent fertility rate that stands at about 20% today without young people who are sexually active having access to contraceptives. So without family planning, there's no reproductive health, there's no maternal health, there's no newborn health, there's no neonatal health. And so that for us is one thought that we must think about. It is not about the number, it's about how do we improve the quality of life of our people. And that's the argument for me that I think we should be engaging in. And that takes me to the next one. We know very clearly that in the picture that we have today about death that happens from among our mothers, unsafe abortion is said to account for about 11%. If only we could prevent those unwanted pregnancies, it means that automatically, even if we don't do any other thing to other ends, 11% of our deaths can be knocked off just by preventing women from having only pregnancy that they desire, so that they won't go through unwanted pregnancy. We know from what study has told us that when we take a look at the outcomes of birth, about 21% of births in Nigeria are unplanned and they count on this abortion. Again, we can knock out a fifth of all our births simply by ensuring that women who want family planning can have access to it when they need it. Okay. Like other studies have shown us that if you take a look backward from 2005 to 2015, if all the women who had wanted family planning had access to it, we will have averted 3.5 million unwanted pregnancies as a country. We will have saved about 1 million under 5 deaths. We will have prevented at least 18,000 women from dying if only in the 10 years that passed we had allowed women who wanted family planning to have access to it. We are not even talking about getting women who didn't want it to use. We are talking about those who wanted, who never had access to those things. How much difference will have made to our lives if only we had done that? This slide is from last year's Commission on Investing in Health, and I think I will just jump it. But let me show you let me just summarize. That clearly what last year's study has shown us is that by making greater investments in the health sector in Nigeria, we can reduce significantly maternal deaths, we can reduce HIV rates, we can reduce newborn death, we can reduce under 5 deaths by making greater investments in our health sector, including our family planning health sector. And so I think that the argument is simple. If you are going to improve the life of our women and children, if you are going to see improvement in their health, you must focus on investing in family planning. Let me go to the second part very quickly, the economic impact. There's no doubt that when families are able to manage the fertility rate, and they can choose the number of children they have less number of children, they reduce the economic burden, they have more money to invest in their children's growth, in their children's education, in food and the rest of it, and they have the higher chance of breaking the poverty level. And the same is true at national level. We can improve economic productivity if you have a more manageable population. I like this quotation, and I think this is something that every Nigerian family can identify with. That in today's financially strapped environment, family planning is a best buy for families, communities, and nations. If you go by what our population policy had said, and we go on to achieve the target of our population policy, by 2040, going by the rates projected 2-3 years ago, we could save some 47 million naira in budget, in our health budget. We could save 271 billion naira in our primary education expenditure. We could use in the amount of rice that we eat, we can save 400 million metrics if we lower our population from where we are now to what the population policy had them say. By 2040, there will be less pressure on our budgets, and the government has far more money to invest in productive enterprise. Let me go to the last part very quickly, and I will close in 2 minutes. Let me talk about the structure of our population. I'm sure many Nigerians are familiar with this picture. Sometimes it looks like if it was a match between Manchester United and Manchester City, because Nigerians like football. Sorry? But the reality is that this is not football match. This is not Nigeria versus Ghana. These are Nigerians in a stadium who are applying, who had come for screening to get employment. And the reality is that the youth bulge is not always a demographic dividend, it could be a disaster if you don't manage it well. If you don't invest in the life of our young people, we are going to have a disaster in our hand. I personally refer to it as a time bomb. That young people who are undereducated by a collapsed educational system may graduate, but only to joblessness. Let me begin to close. I was going to talk about this, but let me just, maybe I just say this. Like, there will not be demographic dividends if you don't manage the population. I think that's the summary here. I've jumped this because of time. Also, the whole issue about environmental challenge that we are seeing, the degradation we are seeing today, will simply worsen with our population growth. Let me summarize or close. We know what to do. We have a population policy. We know what to do. We have a family planning blueprint. But let me say this, that we are not making the critical investment, even though we know what to do. Dr. Deku has said we need about 613 or so billion to be able to invest. But can I tell you what that means in Naira? Even at today's Naira, it means only less than 3,000 Naira per Nigeria in 2 years. At the rate of 500 Naira per dollar, that whole amount of money we are talking about comes to less than 3,000 Naira per Nigerian. So it's not something huge. It's something we can do if you put our mind to doing that. If you don't make that critical investment, at least you could have doubled our investment, our utilization rate for family planning. If women who want family planning can get it. The picture we see today is that so many facilities still have stock out. If you make the critical investment, we can overcome this challenge and get our women to use family planning. But the reality is very simple. States are not making the investment. In a review work we did funded by Gates Foundation 2 years ago, look at the data we have. It was only Lagos State that had a budget line and was funding it. We are at the rest 35 states. There is no way we are going to make this difference if every state don't get committed to this agenda. And I often say, the question about family planning is a very simple question. It's a question of what future do we want for ourselves and for our children. It's not about what population are we talking about, because ultimately it's a personal question. What future do we want for our nation? That is the question we are asking ourselves. Our choice will determine our future. A future where there is crisis, poverty, environmental degradation, and youth rage, or a future where family planning investment ushers us to a greater dimension of prosperity and national growth. Let me conclude, like I said, my conclusion. 3 things I want to say. Number 1, investment in family planning is not the government's responsibility. And I want to be quoted rightly. You cannot say, oh, let government invest in it if they like or not. It cannot be. Because when the output comes, it's going to affect all our lives. And so we all need to be committed and do everything we can to pressurize our government, our state government, our local government, to do what is right, because it's only in our collective interest when we do that. Number 2, family planning is development based by. There's no argument about it. That you need to emphasize. Either we are talking about education sector, we are talking about health sector, we are talking about educational, talk about what sector. Family planning is a development based by. My last slide is this. In the speech of our president, his budget speech for this year, he made what I think is a very phenomenal statement. He said, we will change our habits and we will change Nigeria. Let me say this, our fertility-related habits need to change. When we change that, we can change Nigeria. When we change our mindset to investing in family planning, we can change the trajectory of our nation. When we change our habits in terms of our fertility growth rate, we will change Nigeria. That is the task at hand, and I pray that the Lord will help us accomplish it. I want to thank you very much for your attention this morning.
As you know, my boss, Bill Gates, is also very much a businessman, and he expects a return on his investment. Bill is constantly asking us, what are we saving? How many cases of malaria have we averted? How much closer are we to developing a vaccine for that disease? It may come as a surprise to you that the family planning is considered one of the best buys. You've heard this several times today now, but it's really the case, and this has been established not just by economists and researchers, but also tough businessmen like Bill Gates. It's one of the best buys of global health. As Bill wrote in his recent annual letter, contraceptives are one of the greatest life-saving innovations in history. When a mother can choose how many children to have, her children are healthier, they're better nourished, their mental capacities are higher, and parents have more time and money to spend on each child's health and schooling. That's how families and countries get out of poverty. So the foundation has learned through its relatively young life of working across a wide range of health areas, that family planning is unique among public health interventions in the breadth of its potential impact, including as a preventative measure, public health measure, with the potential to prevent many maternal and infant deaths. Melinda Gates' decision to focus her life work on family planning owes in large part to the critical role that family planning has in reducing mortality and empowering women to provide the means to improve their lives and the health and well-being of their family. And we've heard today how meeting the needs of family planning can reduce maternal mortality by up to a third. And family planning, meeting the needs of family planning, meeting the needs of women who say they want to prevent a pregnancy, can also reduce infant mortality by about 22%. Beginning in 2010, the Gates Foundation made significant investments in NURI, the Nigerian Urban Reproductive Health Initiative, as a centerpiece of its family planning investments. Our focus on the urban poor acknowledges the important, and maybe the most important demographic shift of this century, that virtually all future population growth will take place in urban settings, and that the majority of that growth will be concentrated amongst the poorest. To secure the future health and well-being of the poorest women and girls, we need to address the growing demand for family planning in urban settings. A rigorous evaluation has shown that NURI was a highly successful project. And you've heard today how NURI increased contraceptive use by an average of 11 percentage points in 4 years, which is really a remarkable uptick compared to the usual 0.6 and to 1 percentage point increase per year. NURI showed us that when the right solutions are implemented in concert, they can produce unprecedented results in places where progress had in some places been stagnant for decades. To an important extent, the Challenge Initiative, TCI, is a follow-on to NURI project. And Oying will tell us how there's some fundamental differences from the NURI project with the new project, but TCI will take NURI's highest impact evidence-based interventions to new geographies in Nigeria, to new states. We'll scale it up to new states, moving beyond the urban areas to reach more women. The Challenge Initiative can only succeed with partnerships, a partnership with donors, a partnership with government, a partnership with the private sector. And this is because TCI challenges governments and donors and the private sector to work together to achieve common ends. Outcomes that we all want to achieve, that are more likely to be achieved together than separately, and that have been proven to work and have been proven to have broad impact on the lives of the poor. Through the new Challenge Initiative program, we are offering an incentive to donors, country governments, and private individuals to join hands with us and replicate high-impact interventions, including NURI's high-impact interventions, in more states in Nigeria. The foundation will assume the overhead costs and provide technical assistance required to get the programs off the ground, so that all of your resources And we're speaking to new donors, we're speaking to private individuals who would like to support the common good. We're speaking to governments, so that all of your resources can be dedicated to implementation. This will allow all of us to leverage and build upon and scale up evidence-based, impactful interventions that have been proven to work. So we are here today to introduce you to this new initiative that our foundation is supporting, and we hope that you too support it. We hope you find it as exciting as we do, and we humbly stand before you with the hope that you will decide to join hands with us in a partnership to support the Challenge Initiative. I want to thank everyone here for joining us to learn more about this exciting and ambitious new phase of our work. And I wish you the very best. I wish us all the very best for our fruitful day. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, Madame Silva, Madame Saraki, can I be a Nigerian by simply stating that I observe all protocols that have been established. Since Madame Saraki is here, I recall more than 30 years ago. It was actually my first trip to Nigeria. Working with Professor Ladipo, I'm not sure if he's here today, and working in Ilorin, Kwara State, where I had my best suya at the time. And we were doing a research, focus group research, on the issue of family planning. This is brand new. And a grandmother was telling us that child spacing has been a tradition of Nigerians for hundreds and hundreds of years. And that she was, or her children were lucky that they have now access to modern methods of medicine that their forebears, did not have. I still remember that fresh in my mind. And in fact, based on that grandmother's story, that was the first television spot in Nigeria promoting child spacing as far as I can recall. Yeah. So I have very passionate hearts about working in Ilorin and Kwara because I learned that. So, Challenge Initiative. Let me just start that the future, as has been said, the future growth globally will be in the urban areas. And that's why, as the Gates Foundation always behave, they try to look at and anticipate what's going to happen in the next years and be ahead of the curve. And therefore, by putting in place a program on how to address the issues in the urban setting, especially among the poor, then they would have established some learnings that can benefit the rest of the world. By 2030, 469 million urban women will be of reproductive age. That's a 50% increase in 2015. And around 70% of that population will be urban residents. In Nigeria, the proportion of women living in urban areas is about 2015, and by 2015 it's almost about 45%, or maybe even 53% by some other data. By 2050, an additional 250 million people will be living in the urban regions of Nigeria. If you look at this data from the UN World Urbanization Report, Nigeria will be about 65% urban and is actually ahead in Western Africa in terms of the most urbanized country in Africa. I'll skip that since we don't have enough time. And Modia's. So the Challenge Initiative. It is business unusual because, if I may repeat this again, The challenge initiative is not like God deciding which cities to work. So this is a demand-driven reverse process in which the cities self-select if they want to become part of the challenge initiative. And by that process, the cities bring the resources to the table. And normally it's the state in this context of Nigeria. If they become part of this challenge initiative, they will have access to, number one, technical expertise that will be provided by the Gates Foundation at no charge to them. That's one. They will have access also to program implementation money that will be initially funded by the Gates Foundation, but hopefully would be expanded with our partnership with other donors, whether they're high net worth individuals, bilateral or multilateral agencies. It also practices angel investing. In a sense, you could look at it this way: if you are a high net worth individual, you're kind of an angel trying, to invest in a social good, but in a very efficient way. If you're part also of the TCI, you will have access to what we call the TCI University. So think of this, for many of you who may be familiar with McDonald's, since some of the elements of our approach are borrowed and adopted from the business franchising model in the private sector. Think of it this way: if you were a franchisee and you won a franchise from the McDonald's to run a McDonald's outlet, you are required to go through a McDonald's University. So when you go to a McDonald's and somebody greets you, "Good morning, sir, what can I do for you?" That did not happen by itself. That's part of the McDonald's University training program. If you go to a toilet and you see that it's always clean, that's why people stop at McDonald's, to do their personal stuff. That's part of the the McDonald's University. When you have to gather what you ate, and put it in the trash can, that did not happen by itself. That's part of that culture when you go to a McDonald's. And we will, through the TCI University, the cities that will become part of this will have access to the toolkits that were developed by the URI, the best practices, and the most high impact practices, and also borrow some of those that have been well documented by USAID from its more than 40 years of investment in family planning. A last element of it is this concept of really efficiency and effectiveness. Too often, when we think about investing in a social good, we forget the concept of efficiency and effectiveness. But here, efficiency and effectiveness will be built in. If you were an investor, you would know how much it costs to deliver one modern method user in your own state. You'd be able to find that out. So if you were an investor and said, "Oh, for this amount of money, I get this," and we will tell you, yes, you get that result. But over and above that, let's pick a number. I'll pick a US dollar since the Naira changes every day. So you say $10 to produce one modern method user. But that same $10 may have also impacted on a system change that will be sustainable over a long period of time. For example, if you have a supply chain system that has already worked, that's a system change. For example, if you have a referral system, when you come for immunization, you get referred to family planning, that's a system change that will continue on even without TCI in place. If you are able to do counseling on a routine basis for people who come in for family planning to get counseled so that they make their own choices, that's a system change. That's still the same $10 that you were able to invest. So maybe I should skip that one and skip that one and just go to this. The urban benefits of participating in TCI is that, of course, you'll be able to serve your cities and your communities. That's number one. But beyond the health benefits and all those other things that you'll be able to access TCI, you will have also achieved some level of what we call demographic dividend. And let me show you the return to investment on this one. So here, everybody's talking about that $120 benefit. So where did that come from? That for every $1 you invest in family planning, you reap the benefits equivalent to $120. Where did that data come from? That data did not come from another family planning organization. That came from a very prestigious research organization called Copenhagen Consensus. Why did they come up with this data? They were complaining that the Sustainable Development Goals were too many goals and that they should be reduced to a more manageable number of goals. So what they did was they commissioned the top brains in the world to study what is the best buy to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. And they studied almost everything. Almost everything. And on the basis of that study, this is a summary on the Economist magazine, the number one best buy is trade liberalization. $1 is about $2,000 worth of benefits. The second is access to contraceptives, family planning, $120. So I was curious about this. And what I did was I sought the two top economists who actually did this study. It's Professor Cutler and Professor Gerndt at University of Pennsylvania. So I said, how did you come up with this number? And they said, we were actually quite shocked at this. We were shocked because what we did was we only studied the impact on saving mothers' lives and on saving infant lives. We didn't go beyond that. We didn't even study on the impact on stillbirths. We didn't put dollars on the impact on nutrition, on schools, and all that. And yet it was already $120. So they said we stop at that because it was too good to be true. So in fact, the $120 is a very, very conservative benefit. So when Bill sent his letter the other day to Warren Buffett, as many of you are probably familiar, that Warren Buffett said, how much did I get from my $30 billion? And Bill wrote this letter to Warren Buffett on the best deals, the best buys. And one of them, of course, he said that for vaccination, every $1 you get $45 worth of benefits. Under the Copenhagen Consensus, it's $60. So it's still there, 45, 60. So I tweeted Bill and Melinda, and I said, well, for every $1, you get $120 worth of benefits for family planning. And so I sent the tweet, and then an economist in my staff said, did you realize that 1 to 120 is in return to investment? 12,000% return to investment. Where could you get something like that? Where could you get something like that? Okay. So let me show you what is this demographic dividend. Here is a World Bank data comparing East Asia and Pacific and Sub-Saharan Africa. This is quite stunning data when I first saw this. Okay? The same data was confirmed by the two professors who wrote the concept of demographic dividend. Okay? If you look at this, you will be shocked to see that from the 1960s almost to 1990, right? The per capita GDP in Sub-Saharan Africa was higher than East Asia and the Pacific. Higher than in East Asia and the Pacific. And I'm not talking about East Asia here, it includes the Pacific, which has a much lower per capita GDP. And then what happened after the 1990s? Look, Sub-Saharan Africa remains at the red bar, and East Asia and the Pacific was just pulling away. What happened? What happened here? And so these two top economists at Harvard studied this, and they wrote a book called The Demographic Dividend, and they call it The Miracle Growth in Asia. And they concluded, after looking at all the data, that 30% of the economic growth in East Asia and the Pacific is attributable to the fall in fertility, which brought about the demographic dividend. When there is a fall in fertility, there's a change in what they call the ratio between the working population and the dependent population. So when there are more people in the working population than in the dependent population, and the women are freed, from just taking care of children, you have an explosion of economic productivity. So it's about, on the average, they said, 2% every year. Out of the 6% average in economic growth, 2% was attributable to the demographic dividend. 2%. But they said that is not the important thing. Because I actually brought the two economists to brief Melinda. And I said, the power is that 2% is compounded annually for 30 years. So if you are a banker, you are a financial investor, it's that compound interest which is the most powerful. So that 2% compounded every year for 30 years is what brought you that kind of change. Okay? So let me be humble here now, and I'll show you the next graph. I tested this with Dr. Moji and her staff. I said, could I show this, Dr. Moji, to the team tomorrow? Because this compares Nigeria to another country. And I said, yes, you could, you should. So let me show you this. Again, data from the World Bank. This is a comparison between Nigeria and Indonesia. Large Muslim population, large population, oil-producing economies. They have many similarities. But the same pattern came out. The comparison between Sub-Saharan Africa, in East Asia and the Pacific came out in Indonesia and Nigeria. And then again, the same explanation was made. Indonesia is now close to replacement fertility. They're reaping the benefits of demographic dividend. I may say that I'm very, very positive about Nigeria, despite what you see here. In my opinion, we are now at the point in time, despite what you hear about the economic scene, of what I call, and I described at the last family planning conference, Nigeria rising. Because your economic growth rate is one of the highest. Question is, can you sustain that without taking care of the fall, in fertility over a long period of time? This is the kind of stuff that policymakers, and I think the president has already recognized this with that quote, that was used by Professor Fatuse. So let me show you the funding model for TCI. So TCI works with 4 accelerator hubs globally. One of them is, of course, Nigeria. And Nigeria is Nigeria only. So one hub covers all of West Africa. Another hub covers East Africa. But one hub covers Nigeria only. So you're like one region because of the priority given by the Gates Foundation to Nigeria. So as this funding model shows, the Gates Foundation will take care of the technical assistance expertise cost, but we will be working with other partners, hopefully bilateral, multilateral agencies, and private donors to complement the Challenge Fund. And the donors can pick any way they want to do it. We will be very flexible in the way we would be able to accommodate that. So if there are certain restrictions, certain issues, legal issues, competition, we will be able to address that. Let me just expound on this with a few minutes. Because wherever I spoke about this, it turns out that a lot of people are interested in TCI University. So TCI University, you will have access to toolkits. It will involve technical assistance coaching when you begin implementing your programs, so you get trained, and you become a global member of a community of practice of which you can learn from each other among cities around the world. Model cities around the world can learn from each other. Okay? And many of those cities will have to go through a TCI University. So you're not there on your own in terms of implementation. We will be there with you in terms of training you and coaching you to be able to adopt high-impact best practices. So let me skip my 2 slides and go to the end. It's okay. So at the end, let me just say that business unusual, which is TCI, is actually quite scalable. As of today, we have already received 20 expressions of interests among cities around the world. As of today, and we're only in operation in the last few months. Last week, the Francophone West Africa Hub was launched. Our colleague, Dr. Finkel and Rodeo was there, and my deputy, Kodjo, was there. 12 mayors from 10 countries in West Africa came, including a minister of health from Niger. And they are all interested in becoming part of TCI. Today, we're launching this in Nigeria, and big news for us, as of yesterday, TCI Nigeria has already received 6 actual written expressions of interest. And this is growing by the day. I would think that probably in the next 2 weeks, this will be doubled. Okay. Next week, on the middle of March, we will be launching for East Africa. It will be in Nairobi. And in April, we'll be launching in Asia. It would be in New Delhi, India. And in July, there will be a global launch to be done, in London. And we hope that those of you who will be part of this will be invited to that global launch in July. So in summary, let me just say that the TCI is there. It's up to you, because it's demand-driven, you self-select, if you think your cities can benefit from TCI. Thank you very much.
Let's appreciate one more time Mr. Hossein Onying Rimon. Thank you very much for your challenge, global perspective. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to invite for her statement of support Her Excellency Barrister Toyin Saraki. Please put your hands together for her as she makes her way to the microphone. Welcome, madam.
Hajia Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, ably represented by my dear sister, Her Excellency Mrs. Ellen Yingi Silva. I can't greet myself, so let me, from that point, rest on the existing protocols. But good morning, I believe it's still morning, ladies and gentlemen, development partners, and all those who want a better demographic dividend for Nigeria. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today at the launch of the Challenge Initiative. The Challenge Initiative is a really bold and innovative solution to so many of our family planning crises and systemic health issues that take place at an urban level in all our communities across Africa. Through this multifaceted and cross-purposeful engagement, this is going to be creating accountability on behalf of governments and bureaucracies to be proactive with civil society in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And in this framework, what particularly excites me is that beneficiaries are not going to be merely charitable giftees, but autonomous actors in their own improvement and well-being. In other words, homegrown solutions taken to scale at a global standard. In Nigeria, fewer than 1 in 5 married women has access to family planning services. This has left millions of women without the choice to space their families. And as we have learned from Dr. Oyeng, it has led to an unsustainable population growth, which puts the health of our nation at risk. At the Wellbeing Foundation Africa, we believe in strengthening primary health care services to benefit the rural and urban woman and man, especially in providing family planning services. We say primary health because that's the lowest common denominator. If we can get our primary health right in Nigeria, we can actually, through primary health, build the skills, the capacity, and the capability to tackle our crises whenever these occur, quickly and efficiently. We understand that every single part of the process has to be transformed, slowly and fundamentally, to make lasting change. But primary healthcare centers need to provide family planning services throughout Nigeria, and these actually should be available to women and men alike. Most of these decisions are decisions that are taken together as a family, even if they're only working on one gender for both. We do need this continuum of care and counsel. We need education, we need follow-up services, and we also actually need mental health support services. Women must insight an opportunity to determine their own contraceptive options. As many of us know, every single body on this planet is different, and one health solution does not work for all. This has been a priority for us at the Wellbeing Foundation for a number of years, and in 2012, some people here may recall that I supported the legislative change in Nigeria that allowed community health workers to be able to give injectable contraceptives to rural women, which is the preferred method for them. This also freed the women to be able to make their own choices privately, as opposed to a contraceptive decision being a whole extended family decision. In 2017, I now chair Nigeria's Primary Health Care Centers Revitalization Committee, which is calling upon governmental policymakers to fully implement the National Health Care Act, in which the adherence of 1% of the Consolidated Revenue Fund can actually create an unprecedented impact across the Nigerian stage to save the lives of 3,131,510 mothers, newborns, and children under the age of 5 years by 2022. And at this point, I then want to borrow Dr. Oyeng's number on the demographic dividend. If we can save 3,131,510 mothers simply by giving them effective primary health care, which includes family planning, we'll take that $120 number and know how much money we would save in Nigeria. So societies can look beyond traditional taboos, and we can actively become comfortable with the words family planning and all that that encompasses. Family planning is not anti-children, nor is it anti-fertility. It is health, development, and a strong, sustainable society. When a woman does have the resources to plan her family, she spaces her pregnancies, which means the family won't be thin on resources or financially compromised. Now, as a woman, I can tell you that childbirth is a physically exhausting process. We mothers need time to recuperate and adapt, not only to the birthing process, but also the physical demands of raising a newborn and ensuring adequate nutrition and sustenance. So family planning isn't just about saving money, but it's about ensuring healthy and happy families in which both the parents have the energy, strength, and emotional capacity to give their child every bit of love they deserve. We may well ask, if we do manage to get the family planning to the primary health care centers, what is it that is going to create this demand for women to actually take that family planning, adopt it, use it as theirs, and see it as an investment in themselves, which it is. Now, as Global Goodwill Ambassador for the International Confederation of Midwives, I can only tell you that the army for this demand creation to actually ensure that transparency, that diligence, that accountability will be the midwife. Midwives are with mothers throughout their pregnancy, and in a non-high-risk pregnancy, the midwife delivers. I'm actually coming, which is why I was late and I'm sorry, I'm coming from Maitama General Hospital, where one of my midwives had effected a referral for a young mother who was attending our mammacare classes, which we give throughout pregnancy at primary health care centers. And a week ago, we had a young mother who couldn't afford a cesarean. So I rushed to the hospital on my way out at 5 a.m. in the morning. And by the time I landed, she had had beautiful, beautiful triplets. But of course, a week later, I was there to receive the babies today. They were being discharged. And the first conversation I had with mother and father was about family planning. First, I insisted that my gift to the triplets be put in a bank account for them for 1,000 days. Because if the mother is going to save for 1,000 days, she's actually going to be consciously not wanting to get pregnant again for 1,000 days. And then we had a very frank family planning conversation. And this was made much easier because the midwives who were looking after her and had already gained her trust had had that conversation with her. So we envisaged universal access to family planning for all women and men in Nigeria and across Africa. For the millions of us to have this access, we need to train, equip, build, and respect our community health workers, the primary healthcare centers, and the midwives. I would like to support the Challenge Initiative because I see it as one of the most exciting and inspiring new developments being launched in this Sustainable Development Goals era to secure a healthier, stronger, and more prosperous city in every country and every society, and for all the hard work that's being done by so many of the strategic partners here today. I would like to thank you. I would like to give thanks for your lives and for the lives that will be saved as a result of the work being done here right now. I'm a great supporter of family planning. Let me know what we need to do. Thank you.
Okay, just in case you don't know, that's a major endorsement for the TCI. Let's put our hands together one more time. You know, by the time TCI is injected into our budget as a constituency project, it's nationwide. Do you agree? And Mrs. Saraki will make that happen for us. Amen. All right. Well, it's time now to hear from the Federal Minister of Health. The Honorable Minister, represented this morning by the Director of Family Health, Dr. Adebimpe Adebi, MNI, for her special address. Let's put our hands together for her.
Singular honor and privilege to bring the regards of my Honorable Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Folorunsho Adewale, to this esteemed audience. The wife of the President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Her Excellency Hajia Buhari, ably represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Silva, the wife of the Senate President and founder, Wellbeing Foundation, our indefatigable, pragmatic barrister Toyin Saraki, the wives of state governors here present, honorable commissioners of health, Abia, Borno, Imo, Cross River, Kaduna, and Kebbi, Nasarawa, directors and chief executive officers of government agencies here present, heads of our agencies and other top officials of our ever-ready development agencies and implementing partners. I want to specifically mention Dr. Moji Odeku of Nuri and Dr. Mero Mandara of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Nigeria. The media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will just read the address of my Honorable Minister. Any mistake, I take responsibility, and let the kudos, let the praises go to my Honorable Minister as I represent him now. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be with you on the occasion of the launch of the Challenge Initiative aimed at enhancing reproductive health and family planning activities in the country. Provision of adequate and quality family planning services. These, among others, include the federal government of Nigeria's policy of provision of free family planning services to clients, commitment of annual budgetary provision of $3 million for procurement of family planning commodities annually for 4 years, 2011 to 2014. The renewal for 2016 to 2020 is actually undergoing due process. To ensure provision of quality contraceptive method mix and wider coverage of family planning services to clients, the capacity of service providers, that is the nurses, midwives, and community health extension workers, were built on family planning technology and contraceptive logistics management, especially on the provision of long-acting reversible contraceptive methods. Furthermore, the federal government employed and deployed nurses, midwives to rural areas where there was shortage of skilled health workers to improve on antenatal, delivery, and postnatal care services for mothers. As increased demand for family planning commodities is considered very critical in achieving the annual increase of 2% contraceptive prevalence rate in the country, the Federal Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the development partners, particularly UNFPA, have secured the approval of the National Council on Health on the National Family Planning Communication Plan and Family Planning logo to increase awareness on family planning services to facilitate integration of family planning into other health services such as maternal and child health. It is also aimed at strengthening the private sector by improving access to government-free family planning commodities at 2 piloted states in order to ensure availability of family planning commodities, thereby expanding demand for family planning services. This is with the hope of replicating the access of registered health outfits in the private sector to free commodities. Also, prominent among the efforts from the stakeholders was the development of family planning blueprint to facilitate the process of implementing family planning activities in a more robust manner in our quest to achieve the 36% contraceptive prevalence rate by the year 2018. However, analysis from past reproductive health surveys indicates that there are still some gaps that need to be addressed in providing adequate quality family planning services to the citizenry. These include, among others, inadequate financial commitment by states and local governments, with most of them having no budget lines, or non-release of appropriated funds for child spacing or family planning activities. With this launch, stakeholders, especially the states, will be able to seize the opportunities being provided by TCI to improve the provision of reproductive health and family planning services, just in the same manner as the states which benefited from the largely successful NURI implemented projects in the country. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that the Federal Ministry of Health will continue to collaborate with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that our women and children have better health in the years ahead. I thank you for your kind attention.
Good afternoon all. I would like to start by thanking the Almighty for giving me the opportunity to be here. And Our Excellency, my friend and sister, Mrs. Toyin Saraki, the wife of the Senate President, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, representative from the commissioners and representatives of, from different states who are here, and development partners. Thank you all for inviting me. For this is a subject and this is a priority, as we have heard from the different presentations that has been given here today. Mine is, it's not a speech, it's a remark, just to add voice to what all the development partners and everyone has been doing. My initiative, the Future Assured, has taken a different approach, because when the girl child is educated, she is well informed and can make informed decisions, better decisions. At this point, I want to sincerely thank the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for all the support that they've been doing over the years for the different initiatives that they've been supporting in the country. As a strong advocate, on health-related issues, access to utilize health services, including family planning in the northern Nigeria, in the northern part of this country, where most of these issues was hit, is one of the concerns that we've brought forward in Future Assured. Looking at what TCI plans to do and achieve in Nigeria, I would like to express my full support to this initiative, which is closely linked to what Future Assured seeks to achieve for the Nigerian women and children. We all know that the female represents more than 50% of this country, and that half of this demographic falls under the reproductive age between 15 to 49. Women, in spite of their socio-cultural status, are critical to the well-being of the family and indeed to the nation's development agenda. So for a country like Nigeria to continue to report a high maternal mortality is a great challenge and a bottleneck to our aspiration in achieving sustainable development. Thank you. Thank you. Later. We recognize that women should be in the forefront of their well-being, and they should also be an active partner in decisions that affect their present as well as their future. We also believe that when more women are aware of these impediments challenging their survival, functionality, dreams, and aspiration, they will indeed become prime movers to build on the necessary solution for their well-being. As most of you may know, I work with the Future Assured initiative to connect women, build network across the country, covering the rural and urban women, as well as women in difficult situations, even in the Northeast. In fact, in the northern part of Nigeria. We have trained a lot of women across Nigeria on skill acquisition to build capacity. We have also provided maternal and newborn child care services to women and children in the communities. Through the Future Assured program, we also play a huge role in the area of reproductive health and childbirth, as I've mentioned earlier. Child spacing is the future, and we must adopt. In Future Assured, we have adopted that as one of our agendas. The Future Assured is strategically positioned to work closely with the Challenge Initiative to build on the mission, vision, and well-being of women, including mothers. We are indeed delighted to be part of this occasion. On this note, I would like to commence the unveiling. Are we ready?
Okay, we'll do it in segments. After this, we'll call commissioners to join. Yeah.
Thank you all again for being here on this very special occasion. I know that this initiative is going to change Nigeria, especially with my sister, Mrs. Saraki here. I know she's going to push things. And to the glory of the Almighty, we unveil this initiative to the betterment of our people and to the glory and honor of God and Nigeria. Amen. Thank you.
We'd like each representative on stage to please sign on this. And we want all the commissioners to get ready to come next. And their representatives from each state. Different states that are pioneering the health industry. Please come. The ushers, please hold the board. Please hold the board so we don't have our special guest holding the board. Thank you.
The TC. Okay, we shall be taking a few goodwill messages now.
On behalf of the resident representative, AI of the United Nations Population Fund, we wish to congratulate the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Johns Hopkins Center for Communications and Programs, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Institute on this notable initiative, which seeks to empower our disadvantaged people within our urban cities with life-saving reproductive health services and information. We want to acknowledge through this medium all of your laudable programs, in particular the NORI program, which the TCI is leveraging upon, and also the PMA 2020 initiative, which has added so much value in terms of learning, development of institutional capacity, and also so much value in terms of service provision to a teeming population in this nation. And we want to add here
that the TCI initiative is just another feather to your cap. And we at UNFP are very proud to be associated with this. We want to pledge our support in whatever way possible to this initiative as we all together commit to ensuring that the reproductive health of all men, all women, and all young people in Nigeria is improved. Please accept our goodwill and the assurances of our highest regards. Thank you very much.
Taraba State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, representing the Honorable Commissioner of Taraba State in the person of Dr. Innocent Vakai, who is unavoidably absent. On this note, I want to, on behalf of the Honorable Commissioner, thank this very important gathering for this laudable project that is the Challenge Initiative, Nigerian version. As you may be aware, Taraba State is one of the states that we classify as an urban state, considering the fact that it is the only state that has low number of patronage because of our disadvantaged position in the far northeast part of the country. But having said that, with the presence of the present governor of the state, Architect Darus Dixon Ishaku, who is so passionate about health, there are a lot of innovations, a lot of improvement in our health indices. The family planning perspective, as far as Taraba State is concerned, looking at the Smart Survey of 2014, it has placed Taraba State to the level of coverage of 23.4%, of which the state, under the able leadership of the Honorable Commissioner of Health, we are working assiduously to ensure that we improve, that is by scaling up the services. And what we intend doing is leveraging on the support of the Saving 1 Million Lives project, which the state is a beneficiary. We have already accessed the funds. We are working towards that to ensure that at least adopting the tax shift policy, our community health workers are properly trained to provide family planning services at the rural areas. Apart from that, through still the Saving 1 Million Lives project, we have identified 31 health facilities cutting across the state for renovation. Specifically, an angle will be provided within that facility that will serve as family planning corner, and some equipments and materials will be provided in that area so that women that will access this service will be comfortable enough to go to those health facilities and access these services. Having said this, I want to assure this gathering that November last year, I also represented the Honorable Commissioner during the Family Planning National Summit, which I was there. And after giving a feedback to His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Taraba State, he has considered that he is going to do everything at his disposal to ensure that the NURI initiative through the TCI Challenge initiative is adopted in Taraba State. That is why, as I am speaking now, Taraba State has already forwarded its own letter of interest towards this concept. And I want to assure this gathering that we are going to do everything possible to ensure that we come on board and we do our utmost best. Thank you, and God bless all of us.
I'd like to call now on the representative of Plateau State.
Part 2 dissertation was on family planning uptake for those women coming to Plateau State Specialist Hospital. So during my work in my part 2 dissertation, I was always reading things on family planning. So my wife gave birth to twins around that time. So we started talking about family planning. So she said, why must she be the one to do family planning? So she picked some of the things and saw vasectomy. So she confronted me with it. I said, no, the issues I read very well. You see that the expertise is not much in Nigeria, so I had to wriggle my way out. So eventually she had to do BTL. So basically, if you notice the issue of family planning, the issue of vasectomy has always been quiet to some extent, and the whole heat has always been on women. To the extent that the women have also forgotten about the issue of vasectomy, and they are also hammering their own mates, women. So I want to really thank you for this opportunity. If you noticed, during the 4th Family Planning Conference in November, my governor was personally there, and he made his own commitments. My own commissioner was also there, he made his own commitments. That was why immediately they said I should come, the commissioner said I should come for this program. The PA to the governor called me yesterday, on my way to this place, that the governor has approved the sum of 5 million naira for family planning programs in the state. And one thing I can assure you is that my governor approves and releases, and he does his release. So the issue that I'm going to tell you again, that by next week, I'm going to send the information that the money has been released. Yeah, so basically, I want to tell you that Plateau State is really committed to the NURI and the Change Initiative Nigeria, and whatever it takes, the governor said I should tell you through the commissioner that we are really interested in you coming down to Plateau State. And just like Dr. Odeku said, it was on the 14th of February on Valentine's Day that our own letter of intent was written to participate in the program. So we are also in line with the youths that are saying that. Because one thing we also noticed is that during the course of my dissertation, we realized, my own data, we realized that most of those that were coming for family planning services were married women. So one of my recommendations, which was answered during the presentation, is that it should be incorporated, it should be integrated so that younger people can also come for services, for family planning services. Thank you very much, and I assure you that my governor will be very happy to hear this.
Thank you, Plateau State, for your endorsement and for buying in to the TCI challenge. All right. Next, we have Abia State. We have Abia State representative in the house. Abia State. How many millions? Your Excellency, the wife of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, ably represented by Her Excellency Mrs. Silva. May I crave your indulgence to stand on all previously existing protocols. And this is our goodwill message from Abia State, which actually has expressed its interest to be part of this epoch-making event. I am highly elated to have this opportunity to participate in this event on behalf of the good people and government of my state, Abia State. We take it as a privilege and as a beacon of sound relationship anchored on trust, mutual respect, appropriate responsiveness between TCI Nigeria and Abia State government. Our government has supported and has worked effectively with organizations committed to offering women and girls reproductive health education with resultant capacity to survey and make choices about their reproductive functions. The government, under the current leadership of Okezie Victor Ikpa as a PhD, is in a hurry to develop the state, and in the face of the economic realities of the time, priority setting has become an indispensable tool for progressive and sustainable development. Healthcare does occupy the top niche in the state development agenda, and this is in consonance with the Sustainable Development Goals 3, especially SDG 3.7, which focuses on ensuring universal access to sexual and reproductive health care services, including family planning. Our state has most recently collaborated with the UNFPA in the area of reproductive health. Recently, USAID, through the SHOPS project, approached the reproductive health issue through the private sector. That project ended in 2016, and while it lasted, the state government did provide the enabling environment for the acclaimed success of that venture, and we are desirous to build on this. Incidentally, Bright Ekweremadu, who has just left and who is the Chief Executive Officer of Society for Family Health, did also collaborate with Abia State in propagating the integrated community case management, which dwells on tackling the 3 childhood killer diseases of malaria, pneumonia, and diarrhea. And Abia State government did participate and support that project. And today, I'm also glad that my colleague, Commissioner for Health in Niger State, who is here, would agree with me that that is a success story, and we want to build on it. And so, the challenge initiative is not going to be anything different. Abia State hopes to completely imbibe and sustain it. Our state is adequately captured in this Save 1 Million Lives initiative, and one outstanding area the initiative is expected to make remarkable impact is reproductive health, with emphasis on family planning. As a potential partner to the Challenge Initiative in Nigeria, we crave your support to enable us to tune up the plans we already have towards entrenching babies by choice rather than by chance in the reproductive life of our women and girls. Let me quickly draw your attention to this, that at the exit of the SHOPS project in Abia State, our state committed itself to the ownership of this project in order to sustain the gains made, and this will not be an overwhelming task, considering that there is a pool of committed and well-motivated propagators of that idea. Attempt will be made to expand this project among the private health caregivers and also align the public sector more appropriately. Demand creation will be pursued vigorously through opinion leaders, religious and traditional leaders. And to further buttress the fact that the state appreciates the place of family planning in global development agenda, I, as the Honorable Commissioner for Health, being the focal person in the healthcare industry in Abia State, I am a member of the Family Planning Monitoring and Supportive Supervision Team and will not miss any opportunity to participate in the field trip during monitoring activities. This has offered me first-hand information on the state of family planning implementation and the challenges in the state. I am convinced that we need support, and I am hoping that we are going to get that from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through the Challenge Initiative, where we have expressed our interest to be part of. I represent my state. I did represent my state in the UNFPA-led high-level family planning advocacy visit to the presidency in Aso Rock in September 2006. We as a state, we do value honor, and we do not falter in anything that we will put our integrity to. We do not falter in anything that will put our integrity to question. We have most recently hosted the highly successful National Council on Health meeting, and we are asking the Challenge Initiative Nigeria to embrace us as a partner, with the assurance that the realization of your goal and mission in Nigeria will guide our activities. Once more, on behalf of the government and people of Abia State, we joyfully welcome you to Nigeria and hope that today marks the beginning of a fruitful and lasting association. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Abia. Thank you very much, Abia State. And the last state on my list, Ogun State. If you're here, let's get your endorsement as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Babafemi Adenuga, and I am representing the Commissioner for Health for Ogun State. I'm the Special Advisor on Health to His Excellency, the Governor of Ogun State. Your Excellency is the wife of the President of Nigeria, ably represented by the former First Lady of Bayelsa, Mrs. Sylvia, and the wife of the Senate President and founder of Wellbeing Foundation, Mrs. Saraki, and standing on all existing protocol. First, I bring you greetings from the good people of Ogun State, whom through the administration of our Governor, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, CONFCA, and the recognized partnerships with development agencies, the Federal Ministry of Health, and the list goes on. We hope to bring the needed sustainable development that would hopefully improve the lives of our people. As all the speakers have eloquently outlined, this cannot be done without tackling population control with a focus on improving quality of life. Ogun State is fully committed to achieving this goal of increasing its contraceptive prevalence rate from its current rate of 26% to 52% by 2018. Some of the things that we have put in place recently, one is our recent upskilling of our community-based health insurance health scheme, where we already have about 8,000 enrollees, and part of our minimum service package would be provision of family planning. Also, family planning has been prioritized in the implementation of our Save 1 Million Lives project as a major indicator for performance. Other things we have done also as part of our system readiness is we've trained providers for family planning. We have a pool of master trainers who have gone on the field and have trained about 100 family planning providers in about 10 local governments. Still a need to train more, and this has all happened over the last 2 years. Also, supply chain system, we've tried to improve on that by currently, we've put in a new practice of what we call the integrated last mile distribution of family planning commodities. Also, supportive supervision by ensuring that we have monitoring agent. By ensuring that our model trainers actually go out and perform monitoring exercises on a monthly basis. We have also completed the costed implementation plan on family planning with the support of UNFPA, and one of the key achievements of this plan is a recent development with a separate budgetary allocation line for family planning in our 2017 budget. So the list goes on and on, but I, on behalf of the state, want to also stand with everybody else, understanding that the challenge initiative for Nigeria would be one definite vehicle for us to be able to achieve that goal of the 52% of our current contraceptive prevalence rate. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Borno State. Borno is a very interesting place, so we need to hear from Borno. Have you sent in your EOI? I think you should.
Thank you very much, articulate MC, the wife of the president, ably represented, the eloquent wife of the Senate President. I think she can be the next Senate President as well. I was more than impressed with her speech. My colleagues, all other participants of this very important initiative. Borno State is always in the news for the wrong reasons, but I can assure you that if you go to Maiduguri today, you'll be surprised that is this the Maiduguri they have been talking about? Why? Because we have one of the most progressive governors in the country at the moment. He is, of course, the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, and in public fora, not once, not twice, at least I've heard it 4 times, he has declared himself as a feminist. Why does he say that? Anything to do with women empowerment, he's all for it. In fact, recently, when he heard that one old man of 73 or so married a 10-year-old girl, he sent and got the man arrested. Yes, because he believes that women should be empowered, and he's all out for girl-child education. Currently, I think Borno has the highest female medical doctors studying abroad. As I speak, there are 70 young girls studying medicine outside the shores of this country, apart from those inside Nigeria. Why did he do that? It's because of the cultural and religious considerations, so that women will feel free to meet their counterpart as doctors in the hospitals. Family planning, you would say, in a place like Borno, believe me, is on the up. The demand is getting higher and higher, and we are trying to use a strategy where the demand would increase even further by paying advocacy visits to the traditional rulers, to the religious leaders, and we are going to take advantage of the Save 1 Million Life. Because when we came to this very hotel, when the minister gave us the $1.5 million each, he made a statement that continues to ring a bell in my head. He said one single vaccine against maternal mortality is family planning. And I agree with him. And we are working very hard to ensure that we meet this target of 36% by next year. We'll do all we can within our power to see that we create that demand. Commodities are there, nearly all the states. In fact, a lot of family planning commodities expire in stores because of lack of demand. I assure you, as a physician of more than 34 years experience, I will ensure that no commodity expires on us. Well, the only one that I think will expire is maybe condoms, because the men are more difficult. You will agree with me, actually, the men are more difficult in family planning issues in the far north. Because we always tell the women to come with their men to the clinics so that they are both educated and there is no problem that will arise from the family planning that will take place in their homes. And it is usually the men that causes the block. One thing they don't know is that this population thing, people that will vote for you are not infants or are not under fives. They are people that have reached 18 years and above. And by the time you explain to them that most of these births that you are having don't pass the age of 5, it will now begin to sink into their head that, yes, I think they have to think about this family planning. And I think we should also begin to think about changing the word family planning. Child spacing is more acceptable in most places. Because the moment you mention family planning, they think you are trying to stop them from having children. And, you know, they will be on the defensive straight away. So I would want the people behind all these very important initiatives to adopt the word child spacing. And also to tell them that family planning means helping families also who cannot have children to have children. And they will begin to think. Just like we did with polio. If you remember 15, 20 years ago in the far north, to preach polio was a huge headache. But now, like my state, I can tell you that there is not a single community that rejects polio because of religious or customary beliefs. And that is because of the acceptance of polio by the traditional and religious leaders. So finally, I will say that before I leave this hotel tomorrow, I will make sure that I put in Maiduguri as one of the big towns. By the way, Maiduguri is the second most populated town in the north now, after Kano. So if we don't catch Maiduguri, then, you know, we are missing something. Make sure I fill all the necessary forms. And that initiative should also take place in Maiduguri as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Borno. We will come to Borno, I promise you. But I think we also need to craft a message that will target the men, like you say, see the men are the problem. A special communication message must be designed to address them and let them understand that they need to wear condoms. All right, we'll take a short coffee break. It's a tea break for 5 minutes. 5 minutes only. We'll take the break and come back, just chat a little, and then we'll go for the main lunch. This tea break is just to open your stomach for the main food. All right?
So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for staying till this technical section. In this session, we'll be discussing the URI model and TCI as a platform for accelerating country action. And just as the panelists have been introduced, we have Dr. Mojisola Odeku, the portfolio manager of NORI, TCI in Nigeria. We also have Claire Finko from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. To my right, I have Rodio Diallo, I hope that's correct, from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I also have the Honorable Commissioner for Health, Kaduna State, Dr. Paul Dogo. So in this section, we'll be talking broadly about the NORI model. Like we've had in previous presentation, we talked about what worked during NORI. And I'm sure that a number of us have questions regarding what was special, what was the magic touch, what worked, and what were some of the experiences implementing NORI over the last 5-6 years. We'll also try to talk about some of the engagement that NORI had with family planning players. And we will also try to dissect the role of donors, the private sector, government, and also individuals in promoting the scale-up of urban reproductive health initiative in Nigeria. We'll also be looking at the link between the National Family Planning Blueprint, which currently is the standard document that provides a guideline and a blueprint for how family planning programs should be implemented in Nigeria, and on how the NORI model acts as a key component to helping the implementation of that blueprint. So I'll quickly start with just brief 1 or 2 minutes introduction from my extreme left, just to give a background to the NORI model, and also to give a bit of context from a Nigerian perspective, and we'll also proceed to the global experience and why TCI is the model going forward. So I'll start with Dr. Odeku.
I think I have the easiest job, since my presentation actually focused on this, if you recall. Now, to let you know that Nigeria is very important to the world. The Urban Reproductive Health Initiative, why Nigeria was even chosen many years back to be one of the 4 countries, recall, this model was in Senegal, India, Kenya, and Nigeria. And it looked at the issue of urban poor. And it's interesting to note that Nigeria has a very high migration rate, internal migration. We're not even talking about external migration. Many economists says we build capacity for the world, because the best of our best we export to the world. I'm not talking about that aspect now. Looking at internal migration, it's good. When we started off, we found that there's a lot of internal migration, rural to urban in Nigeria, mainly because people are looking for greener pastures, all right? And so, because of that, certain infrastructure in these urban cities in Nigeria are being overstretched, and so they ended up more poor than what they had intended to be when they come to urban. They settle in the slums, all right? And so it's a lot of issue, and the projection is by 2050 in Nigeria, about 70% of our population will be in the urban areas, okay? Now that we are making more effort to do other sectors like agriculture, maybe that may keep people in the rural area for them to get empowered. And so when we look at the quality of life indices, it shows that we need to begin to change our mental model of just concentrating in rural area, but to also concentrate on the urban poor. And so reproductive health is an entry point to be able to do that. So we were part of the global urban reproductive health learning. So that's how URI started off, you know. I didn't have the privilege of explaining all that in the first presentation. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation set up this grant to these 4 countries to come up with a proof of concept of what will make a change in our own geographies, all right? This is the first time you have a grant to allow you to design, to be innovative, and to use the evidence you have to design what works. So that was what NORI did, all right? We had the luxury of learning over a period of time. What are those intricacies on the community of practice, the consumers were trying to improve their lifestyle, their quality of life in the area of reproductive health, family planning. So the luxury we had was, rather than using postulations or ideas, we were able to study women and men for a period of 4 years, okay? To look at their behavior and what are those intricacies that will make a change. So we call that a longitudinal research design. It's never happened in Nigeria. And so we had the opportunity to have that, to learn all the questions, or this is what we think. One key thing we found out, which was interesting, that I would say, I don't know if I'm speaking out of scope, was that we always thought religion was a major thing. We know religion is. One of the states, I won't mention the states, 2 states, one in the north, one in the south, told us, yes, but religion is important to me, but religion, when I have issues in my household, religion will not determine that for me, all right? You know, I would use my religion and use what is acceptable to me, all right? So, certain categories of other things we found out, all right? We found out the concerns of the men and all that. So all those things were put together in the design of what we did to do demand generation, to do everything we did. So the main thing is using evidence to design what you have and to understand what is happening. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deku. Thank you very much for highlighting the role of evidence in designing interventions and making sure that the model for reaching out to communities is driven by what really it is, not based on some big picture somewhere or assumptions. So I will just go over to Claire. So could you give us a global perspective? What was the original thinking behind NORI, and how do you, how has Nigeria fared in implementing this concept to actual programming in Nigeria?
The global perspective from the Gates Foundation, why did we invest in the NORI? And I think some of it has already been said, and that was these large demographic shifts that are happening. And in 2009, when we developed our strategy, we saw that very few donors were investing in the urban sector. Most of them equated poverty with remote rural areas. And you know, the foundation, it's quite a challenge to develop a strategy. It's very much data-based, and our leaders really grill us quite intensely about our choices and how can we have the biggest impact. And so we really drilled down on the urban and understanding what was going on, not just at the present, but looking into the future. Because if you focus only on the present, you miss the big trends, and you don't know if the present actually represents the past, a past trend that's almost completed, or a future maybe nascent but important trend going forward. So I would say that the largest sort of driving factor of our thinking was this demographic shift and where the future face of poverty is urban, it's not rural, and the inequities within the urban sector are enormous. Too often, like when we look at DHS, we'll say urban CPR versus rural CPR, or urban maternal mortality versus rural, and yet we don't even have the means to break down what's happening within the different quintiles of the urban because our sample sizes are too small. And so we were really challenged to even understand what was going on in the urban. And so when we designed NURI and all of our urban programs, we put in place a very strong evaluation structure that, and you've heard a little bit about it, that undertook a large baseline in each of the cities, about 3,000 women, and oversampling the poor so that we could really understand in a very particular way, not in a universal way, but in a very way particular to the cities that we were working in Ilorin, in Kaduna, in Abuja, and in Ibadan, in Benin, and in Zaria. What were the issues facing those women, facing those families? What were the barriers? And so we designed programs based upon those barriers. And we did the same in other countries as well. So I know later on we'll be discussing some of the significant sort of what we feel are distinguished this program from, say, other programs, and I'll save some of my thoughts about that for then. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Claire. So one thing I can take out from what you just said is oftentimes we think that most of the problem is in the rural area. But now we are seeing that the future of poverty is actually urban, which is why the URI is designed to proactively prepare for the future. So just to add a bit of context to the role of stakeholders and the role of key players in promoting this. So I would just ask Rodeo, so how has engagement with key players contributed to the success of this model?
During the implementation of the urban reproductive health programs in the 4 different parts of the world, each technical partner has engaged in has embarked in deep engagement, whether it is engagement with local and national stakeholders and advancing the family planning agenda, the urban reproductive health learning. And we've seen how engaging NURI has been, if you take the case of Nigeria, working closely with the national family planning authorities, but contributing to the learning, enriching also the journey, and contributing highly in a technical way in designing the FP blueprint. So that's a deep engagement. And also in the 2 main states, namely Kaduna and Lagos, we've seen also deep engagement, and in the other states where NURI 1 has been implemented. And the engagement goes also at the community level. I will not give all the details on how the demand creation happened, how they embark in a journey working with religious leaders, community leaders, policymakers, to advance the FP agenda. So I think the engagement is, and also one important piece in NURI's engagement, and this is also valid in other reproductive health we have supported in the other part of the world, how they partner and engage the donor community. We've seen USAID, UNFPA, and other donors leveraging NURI package of intervention in different states to increase health impact we all aim for. So I think the engagement is really throughout the implementation and at very different level in a very effective way to build a consensus and also to strengthen the community of practice through this journey.
Thank you very much, Rodio. So I can take out of your brief explanation that three things are key to working with stakeholders to promote take-up. One is leverage the presence of donors, partners, implementing partners, the community, and also policymakers. You also mentioned collaboration at all levels, state, local government, community level. And you also talked about making sure that interventions are designed specifically for what the community wants. So just to really give a real field perspective, Kaduna State was one of the states that were benefited from the URI intervention in phase 1 and also currently benefiting. So we just want to understand from the Honorable Commissioner, Kaduna State, how was this model relevant to creating success in your state? And how is it currently relevant towards the implementation of the National Family Planning Blueprint?
Victor, thank you very much. Yeah, it is true. Kaduna is one of the states where NURI model was actually demonstrated. Kaduna essentially is a very conservative state, particularly Zaria. But because of the NURI approach and model that was demonstrated in Kaduna, even the most conservative communities, began to accept family planning services. And we were all engaged. We participated fully in all the approaches of NURI in demonstrating this model. We also saw the benefit because as the contraceptive prevalence rate in Kaduna was rising, the fertility rate was also going down. We started somewhere 7.1, and today we're talking of about 4.1 in Kaduna, and this is largely because of the work that NURI has done, and we're pleased with that. And for us, we believe that this is a model that should be sustained. And I think NURI, with the support of Bill and Melinda Gates, has done what they're supposed to do. And I personally feel they are going even beyond what they should do. I would like to, I mentioned this during the last family planning conference, and I think it's very important to mention this, why this is a big challenge and why we must all take it on. And I'm just quoting one, Professor Michael Chu of the Harvard Business School. And this is what he said. Both private and public philanthropy play a key role in fostering the birth of new concepts and ideas. But they are not structured for scale and permanence. And this is why they need government, because it is only government that has the potential for scale and permanence. And this is the reason why we are here. And I believe this is the reason why TCI has been formulated to support us further in ensuring that the proof of concept that NURI has demonstrated so clearly is enough evidence for us to leverage on it and continue to expand so that we one day will begin to reap the dividend of demographic dividend, just like Indonesia. And for us in Kaduna, having seen the benefits of this model, we are positioning ourselves in various ways to see that we carry on with this model. And I just enumerated about 5 things that we're working on to ensure that we sustain these gains. One is the political will. For us in Kaduna, we have this unprecedented political will that is demonstrated by the governor. I'm not saying this just to praise him, but I'm just saying the truth. We have also looked at and see that for this program to succeed, we need to create an institutional home for it. So for us, the primary health care is where we think we should domicile this program, and that informs what we are doing at the primary health care level in cooperating family planning. And then working on the human resource with appropriate competence to be able to provide family planning service, particularly the modern methods, So that is the third point that we're working on and looking at. And of course, the fourth is having a plan. I think like Ondo, is it Ondo, Ogun? Yes, we also have a costed implementation plan, and we're glad to present this to the executive director of UNFPA when he visited our governor. He launched our costed implementation plan, which we're already working and seeing how we are going to implement it, and we believe with that, we should be able to achieve the goals that we've set for ourselves. And of course, the fifth, and very important, is creating a budget line. Because without a budget line, you'll not be able to do these things. So this is what we have done, and we're working on these 5 points to take up the challenge of taking a model that has been proven to have worked. Nuri has demonstrated why it has worked, where it has worked, and I think this is exactly what we're going to do in order to sustain the gains in Kaduna. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. The message is very clear. It is very simple to gain mileage and gain leverage at our various states, if only we can follow these 5 points. And the interesting thing, Honorable Commissioner, that I can take out of your submission is these 5 key points are generic. It means that it can be applied to any state. I mean, any state can demonstrate political will. Any state can institutionalize its family planning programming. Any state can also strategically redesign its human resource. Thank God for the task shifting policy, which we currently have in Nigeria. Any state can develop a CIP. I mean, that is something that any state can have, and every state should have. And of course, every state should have a budget line for family planning. So let's come a bit home to the Challenge Initiative. What is special about the Challenge Initiative? What is the relationship between the URI model and the Challenge Initiative approach? So just briefly, in 30 seconds, I will just go back again to Moji. Just 30 seconds, tell us what is special about the Challenge Initiative and what is different about the Challenge Initiative. Just 1 point, please.
Okay, since I'm given seconds now, not minutes. Well, the Challenge Initiative is a platform of making this reality of sustainability and scaling up a thing to happen in all the states in Nigeria. So it's like an open check for you. If you are interested in doing all the 5 building blocks that the Honorable Commissioner of Kaduna State has given, for you to seek help, support, TA, using your political will, using the resources you have in your state, your LGA, resources both opportunistic and the real cash, all right? And you already have the evidence. So the Global Challenge Initiative is bringing this to Nigeria and giving you a technical hub, which is us here, to be where you seek help, all right? I'm just broken it down to the very minimal. So it's using the evidence of the NORI that has worked, that we know is Nigerian, like we say in Nigeria, is homegrown, right? Homegrown. We always like made in Nigeria, and we're pushing made in Nigeria. So this model is made in Nigeria, okay? Rolled out by Nigerians, all right? And so TCI now gives you a platform to take it to where we didn't go. Get it out of your papers that you've developed over 10, 15 years ago, if you really want to make a difference. And like I said earlier on, for the political-minded people. So we who are representing those geographies should be able to communicate that language. It's about, already we haven't finished this tenure. There's a debate now on 2019, energy is gathering round. So let them know what evidence you want to show for people to vote for you, all right? So you must talk statistics now, not emotion. We want to see what change you've made in your statistics. And I'm happy to let all the states know that we had made sure that the indices of tracking family planning is in that performance framework. So you all have saving 1 million lives. So you can't deliver it without the URI model because it's the first indicator of performance. All right? So here you go. So I won't talk more. I'm talking now as a marketer and as an economist. But really, to get a return on your investment, and you too will see it. Kaduna is seeing it already. And we're happy to say we've directed all traffic now to Kaduna. Okay? We didn't just direct it out of packaging or what Nigerians call sexy profile. No. It was based on evidence. And we always tell people, go and see what is there. We don't even go. Most times, Commissioner, we're not even there. They go and see, and then we know that somebody has gone to see, and we're getting the report back. So all the states that are present here can do similar. So TCI has now brought this opportunity, okay? The technical is there, the model is there, you know. So it's for you to decide whether you want it or not, and it's not just wanting it like it used to happen. It's business unusual. It's demand-driven, okay? You need it, you make all the ingredients. You want a soup, you get all the ingredients of the soup, isn't it? So get all the ingredients of the soup and let us know what you need, the TA help you need. In helping you stir that soup ingredients together, that's TCI. So that's the summary. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your 30 seconds. So over to you, Claire. Do you make it 45 seconds?
5 seconds? Let's see, what was the question? No, so, you know, well, first let me say a couple more things about the original URI, because what I think is really special about the original URI, we want to maintain in TCI. And in some sense, they're also somewhat generic, just as, you know, the principles that Dr. Dogo laid out are generic. We've really sort of stood back and asked what has been responsible for this success. And certainly the technical components have been very strong. But I'm going to name some what I think are some principles that led to the success of NURI that would also be important for any program, malaria program, you name it. One is that NURI worked very closely with the community and got community buy-in. And I remember the first year, how much time you devoted to working with religious and traditional leaders. Secondly, I'm going to go through this quickly because my 5 seconds is going to go quickly, but they worked on supply and demand in an integrated way. They didn't just work on the supply side or the demand side. And the two components were very much in concert with each other. Thirdly, it was data-driven. So this was a project that constantly looked at the data and said, are we doing the right thing? Are we making the progress that we're hoping to? And by the way, sometimes NURI failed. Sometimes NURI's projects didn't work, or approaches didn't work. And so the data showed that, and we let go of them, and they shifted course. So it's really, really important for any program to be attentive to the data and to not be rigid to its original proposal. And I think donors have a lot to do with that, to allow the implementers to have that freedom. And then I'm going to say one more thing about that, and that is we had very ambitious and clear goals, family planning goals. If we had said, just do your best, you know, how do they track themselves against their performance? And so whatever the project is, whether it's a solely a family planning project or if it's an integrated project, if you're not tracking family planning outcomes, if you're not tracking family planning measures, you won't achieve anything because your eyes won't be on the prize. They'll be on all the other indicators. And that's one of the things we've learned in family planning is that when you have an integrated program, that's great, but make sure you track your family planning indicators, or else it will be completely swallowed by all the other goals and demands of your program. Okay, so all of those components to me are will be very important to TCI. And TCI, as I think you've heard this, it does things differently. It mobilizes funding. The original NURI, the Gates Foundation funded the whole project, and it was very expensive. We know we can't scale up. And by the way, we shouldn't scale up. As Dr. Dogo said, you don't get that. You can't get scale through a donor. You need it through government commitment, political will, and institutionalization. You need to embed the capacities of the program within the systems. And so TCI is really focused on doing the right thing. And I would say a couple more differences with the program is besides mobilizing funding and institutionalization of the program, we are looking for scale. We're looking for more than just a couple of geographies. We really want to understand, how do you scale? How do you go not just from one geography +1 +1, but 1 +4 +8. So there's a lot of learning that the foundation wants to do around scaling up a program. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. So I will just go over to Rodio just to add a bit to, I'm sure you heard some of the key points that Moji and Claire had brought up. So what are the additional dimensions you would like to bring into this discussion?
I just want to quickly add the sustainability in terms of how TCI, the way it is designed, is today public good that is out there that government can grab and go, adapt to their local reality, engage other donors than the foundation, and make the best use out of it to reap their demographic dividends. So I think that's the beauty of having something packaged that way and also open to other donors. It's not a property of the Gates Foundation, it's out there, and also availing local competencies to help states. When a state is ready, the hub of competent Nigerian is available to work with them, adapt the package of intervention to their reality and scale it up to meet their health goals. So I think that's a unique dimension. This is not a project that is going to die when the donor leaves. This is a public good that any state can use, put their resources, adapt it to their reality, and see the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've heard about what is special about TCI. I know that states are just about coming on board to be part of TCI, but I also know that for Kaduna State, they have also made some giant strides in increasing their investment in family planning and also running with some of the models even before asking. Or even before TCI had taken off, they have started running. So what is the secret formula, Honorable Commissioner? I understand that you have a very large budget for family planning, and not just the budget, also relays. Can you share with us, what is that secret sauce that other states can take, and how can they assess opportunities for funding within their states and use that funding to drive urban reproductive health initiatives in their respective states?
Yeah, thank you very much. You will recall about some 3 months or so ago, the APC Progressive Governors met in Kaduna, and I think it was Professor Charles Soludo that was the guest speaker. And he gave a very frank talk relating development to population, etc. And when we were having a chat, my governor said, look, what Soludo said is very true. What do we do? I say, Your Excellency, for long I have desired to make a presentation to council about family planning. And that was on a Thursday. I said, okay, could you do that on Monday, because we do have our executive council meetings on Mondays. And I quickly grabbed the Nuri state team leader in Kaduna, and I said, look, let's put up something. And I wouldn't want to be the one to do the presentation. I want a different voice. You come and do the presentation. And so we had the opportunity of making a presentation to the highest policy and decision-making body in the state. And there were frank discussions, and that was what led for the first time that the state agreed, to open a budget line for family planning. And it also led subsequently to many other discussions, on how to improve on family planning. His Excellency was working on putting up more structures for primary schools. And I said, Your Excellency, do you know how many births we have in the state? It means before your tenure expires, you will have this number of children and this number of classrooms. So the reality again dawned on him, and this was how we are pushing to the front burner the issue of family planning and why we need to do it. It's the honest way to improve the lives of our women and, and even our children that are born. And I think the governor has brought it so seriously. The governor has brought it so seriously and is very interested in this. And while coming for this occasion, I also mentioned to him, I said, Your Excellency, you recall, you gave us no objection to express interest in the TCI, and there's going to be a national launch. I would like to be there. So we keep him updated because that is the way to build up political, political will for this program. And for us, TCI is an opportunity for us to discuss and be innovative. When we had problems with polio, I think Kaduna was in the forefront in bringing a lot of innovations in reaching parents and reaching children. We brought the ideas of health camps, road shows, and road theaters, that were replicated even outside this country. And I'm saying, look, if we did that for polio, then TCI is giving us another opportunity to be very innovative. Like our sister said, we now have the freedom to think it out and be innovative, even in applying the model that Nuri has demonstrated clearly that it's working. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I guess we should just take a few questions from the audience. I'm sure you have burning questions or area of clarifications in all of this discussion you would like to clarify. So we'll just take 3 questions. So we have someone. We also have someone at the back. Then we have someone in front.
I'm Director of Primary Healthcare Systems Development at the NPHCDA. I'd like to say thank you very much for, this has been a very instructive panel. My question, it's not so much a question as, seeking clarification. Well, representing a national agency that's also responsible for policy guidance, technical support to states and LGAs in primary healthcare delivery. My clarity is, and it's something I'd already spoken to Dr. Odeko about, I really would like to see how the NPHCDA can work within this context. And I don't think it's we don't have one locality. The geography for the NPHCDA is all the 36 states and the FCT. So maybe I'm also making a pitch that in everybody's EOI, they remember the role of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency. Our focus is not necessarily on rural populace. We're looking at where we deliver primary healthcare. So that's really my pitch. It's not so much a question as seeking clarity in the role of NPHCDA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Haruna Mishelia, Commissioner for Health. Borno State. My question is to my colleague from Kaduna State. Thank you for your eloquent description of what is happening in Kaduna State. Even though we were not part of the initiative as initiated, but all the 5 building blocks are in operation in my state. And I can clearly say that with the setting up of the Primary Healthcare Development Agency, we have a budget line also for family planning. Although 90% of the activities are donor-driven at the moment, we only support in training and other logistics. My real question is, if you said you implemented this initiative in Zaria, I know Zaria very well, I was there for 5 years, and it's a very conservative society, and it's less than half of Kaduna town in size. How could it have brought down the fertility rate in Kaduna State from 7-point-something to 4-point-something? I was rather amazed that if you can do that in just one town and then succeed in reducing the fertility rate in the state by half, what would it have been if you had implemented it in all the towns in the state? Thank you.
My name is Dr. I'm representing the Honorable Commissioner of Kaduna State. Well, I will thank you all. I thank you all for this conversation. Well, my interest is that in family planning, I just want to direct my question to Kaduna State because we are in the same northwest region, especially with the progress they have made. I know in my state, Kaduna State, our major issue is not the utilization of services for documentation. Just like we have captured, I have a very reduction from 7.1 to 4.1 in fertility rate. I know you have a lot of work that you have done to capture data and help you to come with that analysis. So I don't know what actually have you done in documentation, because that's our major problem. The people there are using family planning, but they are not, we don't have data being captured. Thank you.
Chumba, and I'm a journalist. My question is actually a little bit different from what has been the focus here. I'm trying to look at the TCI. Aside from using the Primary Healthcare Development Agency as an arm, we know our society, we know the role of the private sector, especially when it comes to pharmaceutical stores, and quite a lot of people, sometimes even the youths, do want to access family planning from these people. I'm just wondering, is it part of the structure that we're going to see happening here? And if it is, how would this work out? If it's not, don't we think they are a relevant arm we can incorporate? Thank you.
Right. Let me respond to this one first.
Is working with the Federal Ministry of Health, who is the regulatory arm, and MPACD is the parastatal. We are working within that frame. So FMOH has endorsed, is championing this, so we're working with FMOH and all its parastatal. So when it comes into implementation, there's different arms of TCI. So the critical arm, PHCDA, being the capacity building arm for PHC in Nigeria, will certainly be involved. You know, there's a whole list of key stakeholders, but this frame didn't go into all that detail. Now, when we get to any state, when the state has shown their expression of interest, state has their CIP plan, and we will strategically help the state to do like a strategic visioning of really what they want to do, where are the gaps, what's your priority. So it's really that you should put within the context of TCI in helping you to scale up. So certainly MPACDA will be involved. And I'm sure the Commissioner of Kaduna will tell you we had to support Kaduna State to do that last year. You know, the strategic visioning. And all that is the gains they are getting with the governor to be able to position it. So, like Borno, that you have too many players, you need that to be done. Even if you have a CIP and all that, you need that holistic picture to be able to put all your resources together, okay, to get the real value on the investment. Otherwise, it will be a crazy thing out there. You can't track progress, you can't track, I mean, it's confusion. So to put everything together, to really give you a good roadmap, and everybody is happy, involved, and know what my little contribution, what traction that is bringing on to play.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So the second question is, what is the success factor in Zaria? You know, Zaria being a conservative community, what is the success factor that you can share from Kaduna State? So, Dr. Dole.
Yeah, thank you very much. Perhaps I will just start with the last question on data. I think we want to give all the credit to Nuri for all the documentation with family planning, data. But beyond that, the state government has been worried about the absence of data in many areas. And now the state is focusing seriously on that. And that's why now we have a Bureau for Statistics. We've conducted the first household survey that seemed to agree with some of the data that we already have with the support of partners. And we have also been worried about the quality of data, particularly in primary healthcare issues like immunization. And we realize that part of the problems we have is that the denominator is a bit faulty. And now we are deploying what do you call it now? GIS, thank you very much. Yeah, we have piloted that in 3 local governments. We're now expanding. We're already in 9, and we're beginning to have the correct denominator in determining some of our statistics. Right now, we're developing a protocol and questions. We are going to embark on a very massive, huge household survey. So there is that intention, and we've also sought the support of many others. When Melinda Bill Gates came to Kaduna, one of the issues we requested for is support in, having credible data. So apart from what we are doing, we're also seeking support from people to help us, have a credible data. And we're beginning to find data that we work on by ourselves, becoming more credible. Even in HIV, we've done a lot of work in the screening of pregnant women with HIV. And what we are finding is that the prevalence is just about 0.1. As against, what people have been telling us, because in 5 days we were able to screen 126,000 pregnant women, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what we're doing at the data. There is a deliberate effort in Kaduna to strengthen, documentation and data. More so, the governor made a promise when he came in. The only way to show progress is documentation, and that is what he's working on. We're hoping we'll give a mid-term review of his tenure, and then at the end we'll also give end of tenure review. And without documentation and data, you cannot do just that. Now, for Zaria, if you look at the model that Nuri employed, advocacy, improving service delivery, and you find out that all these things had ripple effects. Because when you are doing advocacy, the traditional leaders, we didn't do that to only those in Zaria. All traditional leaders were brought together. So, and then when you are doing jingles, you are communicating the message of family planning and all that on radio, on TV, the message, the waves do not remain in Zaria, they go wide. Meanwhile, the state is also, doing family planning services, in all other parts of the state, and the makeover 72-hour improvement in infrastructure that Nuri did is also across many other local governments. So that is attracting people to come because they see a very good environment, and anytime, you know, the infrastructure is improved and is going to be dedicated or commissioned, all traditional leaders are called, relevant stakeholders are called, and so everybody is aware of this service that is now available, and, you know, better improved service. So it's just the ripple effect, which was a very significant thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for that. I just want to add on a little that there's also a diffusion effect. We call it diffusion. Remember I said there's a lot of migration within our states, you know, and so people move around and they may come to Zaria and Kaduna when they know this good thing is coming. One word, market days, they come. And so it impinges on all other cities in Kaduna State.
Okay, thank you very much. I think there was a question on the role of private practitioners, the PPMVs, in working with TCI. So, do you want to respond to that?
So if you recall in the morning when Oying was making the presentation, the private sector will be involved. And the private sector has been involved, even in the NORI model. I didn't have time to tell you the intricacies of the program implementation. In the NORI 1 design, we had a component called public-private partnership. And in each of the cities, we deployed a platform where to break down professional barriers between those we call the clinical people and the non-clinical people. We have to define that. Because even with the private sector, the notion is that the private sector, if you look at our NDHS, most of health services are secured from the private sector. But we had to break down that statistics and say, within the private sector, who are the players? Because this is family planning now. Now, we found that the larger segment, which the media, Chinyere rightly alluded to, in the private sector that offer more service to on family planning are the non-clinical ones, okay? Which are the PMVs and the pharmacists. Now, the clinical ones, where women go a lot to deliver, don't offer family planning service, okay? And there's limitation in the method that these pharmacy PMVs can give, which is pills and condoms, all right? The injectables are in the PHCs or the maternities private sector. So we need to bridge the gap so that they can talk to themselves. So the lessons learned is you can't go just vertical. And when you're talking private sector, you must define them, all right? You can't just talk non-clinical and say universe private sector, which has always been the conversation. So we provided more clarity on that. And the amazing thing with data, in each city we did ask, where do people go? We found in some cities, PMVs were really the preferred choice, pharmacists were the preferred choice in the non-clinical. For example, in Abuja, it was pharmacists. They go to pharmacists more than PMVs. In Ilorin, it was more PMVs than pharmacists. In Ibadan, it was more PMVs than pharmacists. All right? So that goes to the geography of it. So you can't say everywhere. So that's really very important. That's the lesson Nori is bringing on evidence to your geography. All right? In mapping. So certainly they're important. We made sure we link them together through what we call Family Planning Providers Network. So that there's no longer, before a PMV can't even talk to a pharmacist or talk to PHC, choose. So now they see themselves as partners in business together, all right? So that certainly TCI would be able to do that based on your geography. Of course, when you come, you would define who are the key players. We look at your statistics and then we work with it. On the other arm, that's under service delivery. Now, on the other arm of the private sector involvement in TCI, people will bring resource to the table, okay, to support that state or that geography wants to roll this up. And we've done that in different health interventions before. You remember we did that in HIV/AIDS, we're doing it in malaria, where you have banks coming in, people like Access Bank coming in, putting their money into rollback malaria. You know, we have network of private organizations, communication companies, oil farms. So we're looking at that arm of private sector corporations being able to support states where they are. So certainly private sector will be involved at all different layers of private sector.
Thank you very much. I must really appreciate my panelists for providing such a rich conversation. So we are wrapping up this discussion just to put everything in context. We have heard that the future of family planning is for states to own their program and drive their program. We've also learned that it is for states to determine what areas they want to choose. Like we saw in the previous presentation, the NURI model has 3 key subcomponents or 3 key drivers. The demand generation, the advocacy, and the service delivery. We understand that states vary in their respective positioning in these different components. So it's left for you to determine what slice of this model applies best to you and what you want to implement. We have also heard in the course of this conversation that if you want a good soup, we know the African soup, right? The afang, the edikainko, the ogbono, the ofogu, ofeowere. So if you want a good soup, you also need to provide the ingredients. TCI is a platform for providing that extra spice and giving you the guidance. We have the cookbook, you provide the ingredients, and we can help states to put together a very good menu. There is a common principle called the 80-20 principle or the 20-80 principle. It's a popular Pareto's principle, which says that you need to look for the interventions that require the least investment but the highest return. And family planning is one of such. But you also need to identify that within your geography to say, this is what we want to focus on, and we are sure that if we focus on this intervention, we will have the greatest mileage. We also heard that it is very important for you to track your indicators. You own the data, you generate the data, so you also need to be responsible for tracking it. Oftentimes we see states depend on when there's a national survey. I mean, it's your data, and you also need to use your data to drive home advocacy for funds, advocacy for investment, etc. And finally, we talked about state embracing the reality. The reality is that urbanization is the future. You cannot run away from it. The reality is that if we continue at this pace, we will run out of resources to take care of education, to take care of youth. Other critical areas competing for scarce resources. And like we heard from the Honorable Commissioner, the governor was very smart to invest in build more schools to accommodate additional people. So that's a smart investment, and I think a lot of our other states are smarter at that, and they can also make that smart investment. Our panelists, and bring this session to a close. Thank you very much. Our panelists, and bring this session to a close. Thank you very much. So briefly, I'll be giving a background to where we are and what informed this. I know we've talked quite a lot about what informed the Challenge Initiative and the broad concepts, both globally and locally. But I'll just give a bit of perspective and not spend so much time on what has been mentioned before. I'll also talk about the Challenge Initiative in Nigeria and talk about an accelerated investment and provide a call to action. So, just to give a background, if we have looked at the family planning blueprint, we know that there's a huge demand on states to deliver on the CPR, the contraceptive prevalence rate. We have a target of 36% nationally. And if you look at where we are coming from, that is a huge difference. It means that states need to be creative, they need to be innovative to achieve this CPR milestone. We also know that the National Family Planning Blueprint focuses on fast-tracking the repositioning of family planning, which means that family planning is now a priority. It also ensures that all women of reproductive age have access to family planning method of choice. So regardless of whatever the client chooses, they should have access at every point in time. And so when we consider that by 2050, which is just by the corner, by the way, I know 20 years, when we're talking about Vision 2020, it seemed like forever, but 2050 is just around the corner. Around 70% of Nigerians will live in cities. What that means is that either some of our villages will be converted to cities, or our cities will be overpopulated by people coming in from the rural areas. So we need to have that in mind, and we've already started seeing that. We are seeing transformation. I remember the last time I went to my hometown, the level of development I saw, I do not believe it, and that is going to continue. So we need to keep that at the back of our mind. We also talk about the impact of Nuri. I will not spend so much time here, but just to show that these things are possible. With these results, it means that if we do the right thing, if we get the right formula, we can actually get results. So the next just gives a snapshot of what was presented earlier by Dr. Odeku. We have, these are the various states. These are the targets placed on our states. And the blue line shows what are CPR targets, which means that some states like Lagos, Kwara, Rivers, we need to work extra hard to contribute significantly to ensuring that we get to the 36% CPR. But that doesn't mean that a state like Borno or Kebbi, which is just below the line, will not need to do a lot of work. If you compare where Borno, Kebbi, Kano, Jigawa, Sokoto is currently, where they are intended to be, which is around 18, 19%, 20%, there is a lot of innovation that needs to go to ensuring that we get to that point. And so that should stimulate that creative thinking in our minds right now. Start thinking of how best can we reprogram, how best can we re-strategize to ensure that we meet these numbers. So why the Challenge Initiative in Nigeria? We have heard it over and over again. The Challenge Initiative is a new paradigm for expanding Nuri's proven solutions in new cities and geographies. Just to quickly clarify, when we talk about cities and geographies, in this context, we are talking about states. And just also to know that states can decide to take a specific geography, or they can decide to take a certain element. They can say, based on the funding that we have, we want to focus on XY LGA because this is the most urban LGA, or this is the LGA with the most need. So it's really for states to decide which geography to focus on. So the Challenge Initiative also offers a groundbreaking opportunity to have dramatic impact in meeting the reproductive health needs for underserved urban poor communities in Nigeria. So what are some of the desired outcomes of the Challenge Initiative? Through the Challenge Initiative, we want to contribute to the goal of the FP 2020 and universal access of reproductive health by 2030. What this means is that by 2030, which is just about a decade away from now, we want to ensure that every woman of reproductive age has access to family planning services. This is non-negotiable, and we are very positive that we can attain that. So that is one of the areas that TCI is focused on. We are also looking at promoting best practices packaged for rapid scale-up and widespread adaptation. We want to look away from, like Our Excellency mentioned, pilotitis. We are tired of piloting and piloting. We want to go to scale. And so TCI provides that platform for states to take to scale models that had worked in the past. We also want to increase the number of cities replicating and adapting proven urban reproductive health interventions, and make sure that this is done in a demand-driven and cost-effective approach. What do we mean by demand-driven? It means that the states should decide what they want. We are shifting away from the normal norm of development programming, where a beautiful program is designed and brought to the states to buy in. Instead, we want the states to determine what they want, design their program, and approach TCI to say, this is what we have designed, this is where we want to get to, this is how much investment we have, this is how much support we need from TCI. So it is going to be demand driven. And we also want to see cost effectiveness. So it's not all about spending money and meeting milestones. It's also about return on investment. It's also about value for money. So these are key elements that we are introducing through TCI. We also want to promote sustainability. I mean, let's be frank to ourselves. If you look at the trend over the last few years, you all agree that donor funding is declining, right? Do we agree? Have we experienced decline in donor funding in our respective states? So if we have experienced decline in donor funding, don't you think that we should be smarter around how we want to sustain this funding? I mean, it's an open question, I'm just asking, but we can answer later. Okay, so this is a smart approach to bring about sustainability in how we leverage funding for our people. Then we also want to encourage involuntary use of modern contraceptives, especially among urban people. So this is where the rubber meets the road. What are the opportunities for states participating in TCI? The question has come to me, why should I be part of TCI? I mean, why should I care? I have a lot of support from different donors. I have it going well for me. So what is in it for me as a state? So let me tell you what is in it. The first is you have the opportunity to adapt proven methods or proven models that has worked, which means that there is going to be no experimentation. It is simply you taking evidence from models that have worked and adapting it to your local space. That is one of the benefits that you get. Another benefit is that you have access and advantage to leverage on our global pool of technical experts. You have access to benefit from our technical coaching and mentoring, from the TCI Nigeria Hub. The TCI Nigeria Hub has a pool of experts around different sub-thematic areas and thematic areas of family planning programming. So by being part of us, you have access to this pool. What does that mean? It means that if you need help in your state for a particular area, you can simply tap into our pool of experts to say, I need this help in so-so area, and we simply deploy that expertise to provide support to your state. Then you also join a global community of practice, where you share experiences, you exchange learning. I make bold to say that one of the key successes that we've had in some of the NORI states, like Kaduna State, is being open to exchange information and learn. So they have given out information, they have also received information. And this exchange of learning adds great value to the people and also the system. And also states have the opportunity to leverage funds to invest in one of the best buys for development. Oftentimes we focus on the funding part, but we really never look at the other parts. But the truth of the matter is, every investment that is made has a ripple effect. It is not just the number of lives saved, the number of deaths averted, the number of lives, the number of people whose lives are improved. It's an overall package of advantage that we are providing. So these are some of the opportunities for states participating in TCI. So let's give you some good news. TCI actually started in September 2016. So between September 2016, which is about 4 months till now, we have at least reached every state with the good news of TCI. We have, during the National Family Planning Conference, we had the opportunity to meet states. During the National Council on Health meeting, we also had the opportunity to meet states. All states have been written to be intimated around about what TCI has to offer. So 36 states have been introduced to TCI in one form or the other. In response to our goodwill, the extension of our goodwill, we've had 5 states express interest by submitting an expression of interest form to say we want to be part of TCI, following the key criteria. We have also had 2 states expression of interest validated, and in the process of moving to the next stage of proposal development. So this is, in 4 months, if we have this kind of response, this is a good sign to say that this is a model that has come to stay. So let's talk briefly about how TCI is structured, the staging of TCI, the challenge initiative. It's a 3-stage model. We have the stage 1, which is the submission of expression of interest. We have the second stage, which is the proposal development stage, and we have the implementation phase. implementation stage. I reckon that during Oyin's presentation, he had exhausted the staging and the requirement for these stages. So I will just streamline a bit in my next slide to talk a bit about how states can come and become part of the first stage. I mean, you agree with me that if you don't succeed in the first stage, you cannot move to the next stage. So what is required of states to be part of the first stage? So there are 6 eligibility criteria for states. And I'm happy to hear that some of these states already have these criteria set. One of them is political commitment. We need states that demonstrate that they have the will and the commitment to be a part of this. And political commitment has to be demonstrated in any way possible. It can be pronouncement from the governor, it can be an assent to say proceed to be part of this. It can be documentation of commitment in terms of funding in the budget. I mean, there are quite a number of ways that states can demonstrate commitment, and the Nigeria Hub is happy to provide support to any state that is trying to structure their expression of interest to demonstrate political commitment. The second stage is commitment of local resources. Now, let's talk about local resources. Oftentimes, when we hear of resources, we think that it's all about money. It's all about dollars and naira. The human resources also form a critical mass of resources. So, if as a state, you can demonstrate that you have funding, resources in form of funding or in kind, you can have a network of donors or implementing partners in your state that provides a critical support to cushion your funding gap. That can be a demonstration of local resources. I mean, there are different ways that you can demonstrate that you have local resources. Then you need to show that you have health system readiness. We need to see how ready you are to be able to implement and run with this initiative. We also need to see what your demographic need is. So you need to tell us what the gaps are and what gap you want to close and what you're thinking about and what you tend to see in terms of results. Then you need to tell us how efficient you want to be in cost management. And you also need to show us how you have been efficient in the past. Then generally, we need you to demonstrate soundness. So these are just the key eligibility criteria that you need to demonstrate before you can come on board as, before you can join the challenge initiative and have access to the challenge form. So what are some of the lower hanging fruits? I want to talk briefly about this because some states might say, well, I don't think I really fit well. I don't think that there's an opportunity for me here. We really don't have this or we don't have that. But let me share some good news. Every state has the Saving 1 Million Life grant, right?
Yeah.
Every state. Yeah. I will tell you how that's an opportunity. Some states have the costed implementation plan. I will also tell you how that's an opportunity. Then every state has perhaps 1 or 2 donors working in the implementing family planning, right? So I can also tell you how that's an opportunity. So let's talk first about the costed implementation plan. The costed implementation plan provides a strategic framework for prioritizing family planning or child-based spacing interventions. And this costed implementation plan is the strategic show of commitment and seriousness from any state, which means that any state that has a costed implementation plan is trying to say, I know what my problem is, I know what my gaps are, and I know how I want to close those gaps. Whether the funding is available or whether the resources are available to close that gap is another discussion for another day. But just documenting that you have identified what the gaps are and you've identified the activities that you can do to close that gap is, first of all, the costed implementation plan is your strongest advocacy tool to get the support that you need as a state. So I will quickly talk again about the Saving 1 Million Life facility, which for us is the lowest hanging fruit. You know, when you have a tree, you have a lot of fruits. This is the lowest hanging fruit. Each state has received about $1.5 million. In our strategic plan, the strategic plan of the Saving 1 Million Life Performance for Results facility, family planning is one of the pillars. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what this simply means that if you demonstrate commitment to spend or to be efficient with the fund allocated under that pillar, that can be your state contribution to assess the challenge fund. So what that also means is that you do not need to look so far away. You do not need to think about how to get additional funding just now to show some commitment. You can simply say, we have this level of funding in the Save 1 Million Life work plan, and we commit that we will be efficient around spending this amount of money. And that also has a ripple effect, which means that if you perform well and you achieve the result that you have committed to achieve on the 71 million life, that's a guarantee that you get more funding, right? So this is just a quick way of saying, I am committing this amount. Yes, I've committed under 71 million life, but I can also use this as counterpart funding for the challenge fund. And if I succeed in achieving all the milestones I have committed to achieving under the 71 million life, that will not only demonstrate performance under the challenge fund, it will also demonstrate performance under the 71 million life. And by this technical support we will give for you to implement, to get performance, you'll be able to access additional funding. That sounds like a secret sauce, right? Have we seen the light bulb effect? Have you seen the secret in that? Okay, so when we are thinking about the secret, let's just talk more about what are successes that you can get from the 71 million life. Like I said, the success from the 71 million life can make states more eligible for additional funding. The states can also explore existing reproductive health investment as counterpart contribution. Well, we really don't like using the word counterpart because it's really the states driving their intervention and determining what they want to do. We are just here to provide technical assistance to make sure that whatever they have committed to do really happens. So these are opportunities that states can tap in under the 71 million life facility and use that quickly as their own commitment to assess the challenge fund. Then another point I would like to talk about is donor presence of family planning basket. I understand that some states have the family planning basket already established in their states. That is one way that you can demonstrate that there is a pool of resources that you can leverage on to implement family planning programs or childbirth spacing program in your respective state. And you can actually bring that forward to make a case for why you can be part of the challenge initiative. Sorry, I didn't know this slide. Okay, so like I said, consolidating existing donor investment to close the funding gap and reprogram, to free up funding. So if an implementing partner or a donor is already doing certain things, it only makes sense to reprogram your scarce resources to close in other gaps rather than funding the same things that other donors are funding. So that provides an opportunity to say, oh, we have XYZ partners already doing this in the States. And we can demonstrate that because they are doing this, we can commit to do this. Therefore, we want you to help provide technical assistance to implement what we have planned to implement. So that is also another thing that states can consider as they make up their mind to be part of the challenge project. So let's now come to the meat of the matter. This is where the rubber meets the road. After having all these nice speeches and after showing you the opportunities that you have to come on board and be a part of the challenge initiative, what are you going to do? How will you support meeting the demand for modern life-saving family planning methods? Our generation and the future generation will hold us accountable if we do not do what we have to do to make life better for us. So we ask that you reach out to the Challenge Initiative Nigeria Hub for any support that you need, and also to. But most importantly, we want to thank our donors, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We also want to thank the Gates Institute that had to fly all the way from Baltimore to be with us for this great event, and also members of the Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs. I also want to thank the Albright Stonebridge Group, ASG, for providing all the support in putting this together. And my colleague and friend, Kenem Izeche. Yeah, please a round of applause for him. He's been a strong pillar all the way. I also want to thank my portfolio director, Dr. Deku, for providing all the support too, and my colleagues from the Nigerian Urban Reproductive Health Initiative and the Challenge Initiative team. We are a small team doing great things, and I'm very happy that you can associate with us. So as we bring this event to a close, we wish you safe journey back to your respective locations.
Thank you.
And we ask that you take the good message of the Challenge Initiative back to your good people. Thank you very much.